Important update about YouTube playlists. Hey everyone. We've received many messages asking why our YouTube playlists aren't showing up. Do we create YouTube playlists? Yes, we absolutely do. So why can't you see them? Honestly, we're not sure. We've been in contact with YouTube support for several months now, but we still haven't received a clear answer or solution. After much discussion, our team has decided to take matters into our own hands. We believe the issue might be related to the number of playlists we've created on a single channel, possibly too many. Our solution? We're launching 2 additional YouTube channels, giving us a total of 3. This way, we can organize our audiobooks better and avoid the playlist visibility issue in the future. This change only affects our YouTube audience. If you're a patron supporter, you can still access all our audiobooks by visiting the collection menu on Patreon. Thanks so much for your time and continued support. Happy listening. We don't know if it was Jiraiya, or Orochimaru, the third Hokage, or other ninjas. It was definitely Orochimaru's doing. He previously attacked Blue Bee. The fourth Raikage interrupted Mabui, speaking in an irrefutable tone. Lord Raikage, if it really was Orochimaru, then that might actually be a good thing. After saying this, Mabui clapped his hands, and a cloud ninja entered with a sealed box. Upon opening the sealed box, several wooden fragments were revealed. Isn't this just wood? What's so strange about it? The fourth Raikage asked in confusion, not seeing anything wrong with the wood. Mabui rubbed his forehead, feeling somewhat helpless toward the fourth Raikage. She picked up the wood with her fingers and said solemnly, "These pieces of wood were found at the scene, and they possess the ability to absorb chakra." Ability to absorb chakra. With Mabui's reminder, the fourth Raikage finally realized the seriousness of the matter and said gravely, "Wood that absorbs chakra. That's wood style, just like Hashirama Senju. Are you saying that the ninja who attacked the Jinchuriki is a wood-style user from Hidden Leaf Village?" Mabui slightly nodded. After placing the wood-style artifacts back into the box, she slowly said, "Lord Raikage, before seeing these wood-style artifacts, I also suspected it might be the work of Orochimaru or Jiraiya, but after seeing these, I overturn my previous assumptions. Only a wood-style user could silently defeat the Jinchuriki, others would find it difficult to do so." After hearing Mabui's analysis, the fourth Raikage's expression became uncertain as he pondered deeply. At this time, Mabui continued, "Lord Raikage, all of the above is just my speculation, but if Hidden Leaf Village truly has a wood-style ninja village, we may need to delay our offensive plans." At this moment, Killer Bee seemed to remember something and said, "Mabui, you said Hidden Leaf Village has wood-style ninjas. Why did they still sit by during the Ninetales incident? That doesn't make sense, and it's not like ninjas." Mabui gently shook her head and replied, "I don't know about that. Maybe the wood-style ninjas from Hidden Leaf Village were away at that time, or perhaps that ninja didn't like the fourth Hokage. However, according to the older generation of ninjas, Hashirama Senju's wood style is invincible as all the tailed beasts were defeated by wood style." Upon hearing this, Killer Bee didn't feel afraid. On the contrary, he seemed eager to take action. After a long silence, the fourth Raikage stood up and said, "Mabui, don't be intimidated by the wood-style ninja. Hashirama Senju was just born earlier than us, since the ninjas of our time may not be inferior to those of his era. This village is no longer Hidden Cloud's village of the past. If Hidden Leaf Village were truly that strong, they wouldn't actively seek negotiations with the Hidden Mist and the Hidden Stone. It doesn't matter whether or not Hidden Leaf Village has wood-style ninjas, we must rescue the Jinchuriki as soon as possible to avoid being at a disadvantage." After the fourth Raikage's speech, the morale of the Hidden Cloud's village ninjas present rose significantly. Mabui seemed to be infused with the will of lightning, feeling incredibly excited as she said to the fourth Raikage, "Lord Raikage, what should we do next?" The fourth Raikage looked toward the Land of Fire and stated his plan. "Do not publicly announce the news of the Jinchuriki's disappearance for now. Let's pretend we are still unaware of this matter to mislead the Hidden Leaf Village Ninja Village, then secretly mobilize a large force from our village to put pressure on Hidden Leaf Village. As long as we exert enough pressure on the front lines, Hidden Leaf Village will be compelled to request negotiations, at which point we can demand the release of the Jinchuriki." "What if the Jinchuriki is already dead?" asked one of the Hidden Cloud's village Jonin. The fourth Raikage cast a glance at the Cloud Jonin and replied, "Then we'll take revenge for the Jinchuriki. We must obtain the title of the #1 ninja village this time and break the shackles that Hidden Leaf Village has placed on Hidden Cloud's village." Chapter 188, The Method for Uchiha to Become Hokage. The fourth Raikage's words greatly boosted the morale of the Hidden Cloud's village ninjas. The Hidden Cloud ninjas could accept dying in battle, but they could not accept compromising with their enemies. Even with heavy casualties, they must extract benefits from the enemy and make them pay an equal price. With such thoughts and principles, Hidden Cloud's village had been able to expand wildly in recent decades, swallowing up the small countries surrounding it. After confirming the plan to rescue the Jinchuriki, the fourth Raikage intended to continue his actions outside. However, Mabui stopped him and said seriously, "Lord Raikage, there are many matters that require your personal attention. You cannot leave everything to me, your assistant. You are the Raikage of the village." The fourth Raikage's expression darkened. He hated being cooped up in the office handling administrative affairs, and even when he was in the military camp, he disliked arranging tasks. Taking a deep breath, the fourth Raikage looked at Mabui and said, "Tell me everything important at once. I'll handle it all this time." Mabui nodded and took out several scrolls. "This is the casualty report from the frontline ninjas. They encountered an attack from Uchiha ninjas. This is a list of logistical supplies. They were attacked by Hyuga ninjas. This is a letter from the feudal lord of the Land of Lightning, inquiring about how the battle is progressing. This is the casualty report from the troops stationed in the Land of Hot Water. They recently encountered an attack from 2 bounty hunters and suffered severe losses." The fourth Raikage said impatiently, "Don't bother with the first few. Is there any problem in the Land of Hot Water? I remember it was heavily guarded. How could they be attacked by bounty hunters with such severe losses? Ordinary bounty hunters are indeed difficult to deal with, but these 2 bounty hunters are not ordinary ninjas. They are the puppet master known as Akashi and the rogue ninja Kakazo." "Akashi the puppet master? Rogue ninja Kakazo?" The fourth Raikage seemed to have heard these 2 names somewhere before. However, isn't the puppet master a profession from Hidden Sand Village? Why would he start hunting Hidden Cloud's village ninjas? As for the rogue ninja Kakazu, he was a well-known bounty hunter, even having hunted the first Hokage. After pondering for a moment, the fourth Raikage said, "Since they are bounty hunters, is there any way to buy them over to our side? We could ask them to hunt Hidden Leaf village ninjas and offer double the price." "I'll take care of that right away," Mabui nodded. After Mabui left, the fourth Raikage finally breathed a sigh of relief. He was glad he didn't have to deal with the tedious military affairs. This wasn't because he didn't care about the war. It was just that focusing on these trivial matters was not good for a ninja. A prolonged period of a comfortable life would make ninjas lose their sense of crisis, and their combat instincts and judgment would decline accordingly. They could still crush lower-level enemies with brute strength, but losing judgment when fighting equally strong opponents was fatal. This was also the reason he suddenly declared war on the Land of Fire since, after the loss of the brave fourth Hokage on the front lines, Hidden Leaf Village was left with only the aging third Hokage. The third Hokage hadn't gone to the front lines at all during the entire Third Great Ninja War. Even with the title of ninja hero, how much strength could he still exert? He was probably long past his prime and didn't even have the courage to head to the front lines anymore. From Fugaku, Shizui hurriedly found Byakuya. Byakuya's previous actions of capturing Shizui, Tekka, and others would surely infuriate his clansmen. If it weren't for his mediating presence, a violent conflict might have erupted. However, upon finding Byakuya, Shizui rubbed his eyes, questioning whether he was seeing things correctly. Contrary to Shizui's expectations, Byakuya did not have a conflict with his clansmen. Instead, he blended in seamlessly among the Uchiha, creating a harmonious atmosphere. At that moment, Tekka and others noticed Shizui and said, "Shizui, you're finally back. What did the clan leader call you over for? Were you asked to properly host Byakuya?" Shizui, feeling a bit bewildered, replied, "Something like that. He asked me questions related to Byakuya." "That's good. I'll tell you, Byakuya is one of the few ninjas who can understand us Uchihas. Such ninjas are quite rare." Shizui was still a bit confused. After signaling Byakuya to follow him, he whispered, "Lord Byakuya, what exactly did you talk about with them? They've always been cold to outsiders, let alone showing this kind of enthusiasm." Byakuya revealed a sly smile and replied, "Nothing much, just demonstrated my overwhelming strength and casually talked bad about the Senju clan with them." "I see." Shizui slightly nodded. Criticizing the Senju clan was indeed a hot topic among the Uchiha. However, Byakuya wasn't even Uchiha. Why had he integrated into the clan so quickly, while he, the legitimate Uchiha, felt somewhat out of place? But just talking bad about the Senju shouldn't lead to such enthusiasm. Seemingly sensing Shizui's thoughts, Byakuya said lightly, "Of course, it's not just about talking bad. I also shared some experiences imparted by my predecessors and told them that some things need to be fought for on their own." Shizui's expression darkened as he stared at Byakuya. "Lord Byakuya, that probably isn't good advice. Do you intend to incite the Uchiha to initiate a coup?" Byakuya also looked at Shizui, gradually retracting his smile. With a serious expression, he said, "Shizui, you're truly clever. I did share with them the fastest way to become Hokage, which is to stage a military coup. Only by staging a military coup can the Uchiha hope to become Hokage. You're right, Lord Byakuya, but if the coup fails, the Uchiha will be utterly doomed. Even if it succeeds, Hidden Leaf Village will be left in tatters. As Shizue spoke, his expression became extremely grave, with malice surging in his eyes. Sensing the malice emanating from Shizue, Byakuya chuckled and said, "Don't be so sensitive. I merely shared experiences. As for whether to incite the Uchiha to stage a coup is really up to you, the Uchiha with Mangekyo Sharingan. You should think about how our Akatsuki organization became the rulers of Hidden Rain Village." Upon hearing this, Shizue frowned, puzzled, and asked, "Wasn't it because you and Yahiko were valued by Hanzo of the Salamander, which led to your selection as successors? Did you not receive orders from Hanzo this time?" Byakuya smiled and said, "No one can command me. My coming here to support your Hidden Leaf Village was entirely my own idea. As for my relationship with Hanzo, that was merely a transaction of interests. Actually, our Akatsuki forced Hanzo of the Salamander to compromise with our strength. Now I wonder what your Uchiha plan to do?" Chapter 189, Byakuya's Ambition. After listening to how Byakuya seized the position of leader of Hidden Rain Village, Shizue fell into deep contemplation. Previously, he had no idea about Byakuya's rise alongside Yahiko and others, where he genuinely believed that Byakuya had been valued by Hanzo of the Salamander and thus chosen as the successor for Hidden Rain Village. But unexpectedly, the public narrative of Hidden Rain Village was merely a facade. What truly transpired was a rebellion. However, after the coup that overthrew Hanzo's rule, for the sake of stability, Byakuya and the others did not directly eliminate Hanzo but rather stripped him of his power. Reflecting on this, Shizue began to feel lost again. Even his Mangekyo Sharingan couldn't help him see a clear path ahead. Why must the clansmen pursue the position of Hokage? Why is it that they yearn to become Hokage, despite the limited benefits it brings? Why couldn't they coexist harmoniously with other ninjas in the village? At that moment, Shizue seemed to recall something and said to Byakuya, "Didn't you say before that the Uchiha's pursuit of the Hokage position would bring misfortune? Why are you sharing your coup experience with my clansmen this time?" Byakuya said meaningfully, "Becoming Hokage is the Uchiha's will. Unless faced with a heavy blow, the Uchiha will never abandon the pursuit of becoming Hokage." "A heavy blow?" Shizue asked, confused and eager to know the answer. Byakuya extended his finger towards the Uchiha camp and then pointed at himself. The former Uzumaki clan also believed that Hidden Leaf Village was a good ally until they encountered a national extermination crisis, after which the surviving members understood that Hidden Leaf Village was not to be trusted. If the Uchiha were to face a clan extermination crisis, the remaining members would become much clearer about their goals. Extermination crisis? Shizue frowned. If they truly faced such a crisis, the remaining clansmen would indeed give up on becoming Hokage, but that price seemed far too heavy. Moreover, the Uchiha currently did not seem to be facing any extermination crisis. At this moment, Byakuya said thoughtfully, in normal circumstances, the Uchiha would not encounter an extermination crisis, but that would change if you attempted a coup. Given the current trend, the probability of the Uchiha staging a coup in the future is not low. So, to leave a few embers for your Uchiha clan, why not send some weaker clansmen to me? This way, they won't end up in a situation of death and extermination. After hearing this, Shizue froze momentarily, then stared intently at Byakuya. After testing him for so long, Byakuya finally revealed his true intentions. His keen interest in the Uchiha clan was indeed due to his desire for the Sharingan bloodline. However, unlike others who sought to seize the Sharingan, Byakuya wanted the entire Uchiha clan. This was why he frequently crossed paths with Shizue, continuously instilling the idea that the Uchiha could not become Hokage and would eventually instigate a coup. But the most terrifying part was that what Byakuya said was true, it reflected the reality unfolding within the clan. After pondering for a moment, Shizue gently shook his head. "I'm sorry, Byakuya-sama. I can't control the thoughts of the other clansmen, let alone send them to Hidden Rain Village. It's fine. You will come to understand in due time. After this battle is over, you'll realize it." Regarding Shizue's rejection, Byakuya didn't take it to heart. If one could easily persuade a prominent family like the Uchiha with mere words, Hidden Leaf Village would have long since crumbled. Hidden Leaf Village was a village established by two idealists, built on their own beliefs. No matter how great the pressure they faced, it would not change the Uchiha's obsession with Hidden Leaf Village and a Hokage position, unless the Uchiha's beliefs were to collapse. After chatting idly with Shizue for a while, Byakuya temporarily left the Uchiha camp, casting one last glance at Shizue as he departed. He wasn't worried that Shizue would reveal what he had said. After all, He was Hanzo's disciple, and Yahiko, Conan, and the others were his close friends and allies, making them targets that Hidden Leaf Village was trying to win over. And who is Shisui? Just a restless member of the Uchiha clan. Even if Shisui rushed to the Hokage building to repeat his words to the higher-ups in Hidden Leaf Village, the only one who would truly doubt him would probably be Denzo Shimura. However, it went without saying what Denzo's attitude toward the Uchiha was. In the following weeks, Byakuya frequently traveled between the borders of the Land of Fire and the Hidden Leaf Village camp, hunting down isolated cloud ninjas while building good relationships with Hidden Leaf Village's Jonin. With his outstanding strength and medical ninjutsu, he got to know quite a few of Hidden Leaf Village's Jonin. On a certain day, 2 weeks later, Byakuya's ring became hot, indicating that he had received intel from Sasori and Kakazu. This was not the first time he had received intel from Sasori and Kakazu. During the days he had been out on his own, Sasori and Kakazu had also taken down several cloud ninjas. Their actions had caught the attention of the higher-ups in Hidden Cloud's village. Initially, when Byakuya read the intel sent by Sasori and Kakazu, his expression became strange, marveling at the vastness of the ninja world and its wonders. After several failed ambushes, the higher-ups in Hidden Cloud's village developed the idea of recruiting Sasori and Kakazu. Since rogue ninjas worked for money, rather than going through the trouble of ambushing them, they might as well directly recruit them. In light of this proposal, Sasori and Kakazu seemed tempted and came to ask for Byakuya's opinion. After some consideration, Byakuya provided a vague answer. He neither opposed nor agreed, tacitly accepting Sasori and Kakazu's actions. Arranging for Sasori and Kakazu to become mercenaries for Hidden Cloud's village would not only weaken Hidden Leaf Village's strength on the battlefield but also allow him to gain insight into Hidden Cloud's village's movements, preparing for his upcoming plans. His efforts in coming to Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Cloud's village front were not solely for the sake of earning bounty money or recruiting the Uchiha clan, they were also to make the Akatsuki's name known and establish it as a famous organization in the ninja world. The intel sent by Sasori and Kakazu this time was quite simple. It contained descriptions of the situation at the Hidden Clouds village camp. First, Hidden Clouds village had not disclosed the disappearance of the Two-Tails Jinchuriki. The Cloud ninjas thought he was simply out on a mission. Second, the number of ninjas around the Hidden Clouds village camp had clearly increased in recent weeks. These two pieces of intel led Byakuya into deep thought. Hidden Clouds village's silence regarding the Two-Tails disappearance was likely aimed at maintaining morale, while the increased number of ninjas on the front indicated that Hidden Clouds village had significant actions planned. Coupled with the reduced number of patrols from Cloud ninja teams over the past few days, Byakuya came to a conclusion. If all went according to expectations, the physically strong yet not overly clever 4th Raikage was planning to engage Hidden Leaf Village in a decisive battle. This wasn't necessarily good news for the Akatsuki. Only prolonged warfare could maximize the depletion of both Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds village's strength. However, it was clear that Hidden Clouds village had no intention of dragging things out, and Hidden Rain village also could not intervene in this war. But the inability of Hidden Rain village to interfere in the conflict between Hidden Leaf village and Hidden Clouds village didn't mean that the Akatsuki couldn't take action against the surrounding smaller ninja villages during this period. Thinking of this, Byakuya looked at the ring on his hand and issued orders to the Akatsuki. Chapter 190, Are you ready? A few days later, the Hidden Leaf village front faced a large-scale attack from the Cloud ninjas. At first, Jiraiya, Fugaku, and Kakashi, among other Jonin, thought this was just another feint by the Cloud ninjas, similar to previous feints. The purpose was to distract Hidden Leaf Village's elite forces and then take the opportunity to assault the Hidden Leaf Village camp. However, as outposts along the border began to go missing one by one, Jiraiya and the others gradually realized something was amiss. This time, the Cloud ninjas did not seem to be feigning an attack but were genuinely preparing to assault the Hidden Leaf Village camp. At that moment, a Hyuga Jonin who had gone to scout the front line entered the command room. Jiraiya noticed the Hyuga Jonin responsible for reconnaissance and quickly asked, Hayashi, are the Cloud ninjas really on their way here? Hayashi nodded. The Byakugan's insight does not lie. I indeed saw hundreds of ninjas heading towards the camp, and among them, several leading ninjas possessed immense chakra. They should be the 4th Raikage and the 8-Tails Jinchuriki. Jiraiya nodded. He trusted Hayashi's judgment. Although this Hyuga Jonin was from the branch family, his strength was on par with the main family head, Hisashi Hyuga. The two were even twin brothers. At this moment, Shikakunara seemed to remember something and asked Hayashi, only 2 individuals possessed chakra at the level of tailed beasts? There's no third person. Hayashi shook his head, only these 2 since the Two-Tails Jinchuriki, Yujito is not in the group, she might still be within the borders of the Land of Fire. Upon hearing this, Shikaku and Jiraiya exchanged glances, feeling a bit relieved. On the side, Funanuchiha said, Hayashi, Yuji-tone is already dead at Shizue's hands. It's natural for her absence from the group. Yujito is dead? Hayashi's eyes widened. Due to the information being kept confidential for the time being, the news of the Two-Tails Jinchuriki's death had not yet been made public, as on one hand, they hadn't found her body, and on the other, Hidden Leaf Village's higher-ups didn't want to provoke Hidden Cloud's village. Jiraiya nodded and then said, Yuji-tone is indeed dead. This large-scale attack by the Cloud Ninjas is likely related to that, but if the fourth Raikage and Killer Bee are leading the charge, it's going to be very difficult for us to win. Very difficult. Hayashi fell silent, as that was a rather euphemistic way for Jiraiya to put it. In reality, on the battlefield against Hidden Cloud's village, the Cloud Ninjas had been at a significant advantage. This was partly due to their larger number of Jonin and partly because the fourth Raikage and Killer Bee were incredibly strong together. At that moment, Choza Akimeki seemed to remember something and asked Jiraiya, Lord Jiraiya, hasn't the Hokage sent anyone to support us yet? Jiraiya's expression changed slightly as he shook his head, saying, the village still has to defend against attacks from Hidden Stones Village and Hidden Mist Village. They don't have any extra personnel at the moment since the current personnel are already at their limit. Hayashi expressed some confusion, saying, what about Lord Orochimaru? Why hasn't Lord Orochimaru come to support the front line? With Denzo Shimura and Hamura Midokado on the Hidden Stones Village and Hidden Mist Village fronts, isn't that enough? I don't know. Orochimaru seems to have gone missing recently, and there hasn't been much news. Jiraiya was also quite helpless. He had prided himself on his intelligence network, yet he couldn't locate Orochimaru recently, which left him feeling frustrated and worried. Hearing that the village could hardly provide support, the morale of the ninjas present undoubtedly dropped significantly. Without a second shadow-level powerhouse, they might truly struggle against the AB combination. Although the Inoshikacho trio could resist shadow-level powerhouses in a short-term engagement, it was merely resistance. The Cloud side also had similarly strong Jonin combinations that could exert pressure on them. At this moment, Fugaku Uchiha spoke up, Commander Jiraiya, although the Cloud Ninja side is coming in full force, our village is not without the ability to resist. As for the Uchiha clan, we can at least delay the Eight-Tails Jinchuriki for some time. Moreover, since Shizue was able to take down the Two-Tails Jinchuriki, the Uchiha can handle the Eight-Tails as well. Upon hearing Fugaku's words, Shikaku and the others exchanged subtle glances, but they felt it was not the right time to dampen morale. True, Shizue had defeated the Two-Tails, but it was under circumstances that had a high degree of outside assistance. Without Byakuya's help, how could Shizue possibly defeat and kill the Two-Tails Jinchuriki? For the sake of village unity, they could hold their noses and acknowledge the Uchiha's achievements, but the Uchiha had to be aware of the truth in their hearts. At this moment, Jiraiya seemed to remember something and said, Byakuya should be nearby the camp. If he is willing to lend a hand, we might have a chance to defeat the Cloud. Shikaku replied, if Hidden Rain Village is willing to act, it could naturally change the course of the war, but how do you plan to persuade Byakuya? This battle is different from the previous ones. A real man draws in others. Jiraiya said confidently, I believe Byakuya will firmly stand on the side of justice. Despite Jiraiya's somewhat dubious statement, Shikaku felt resigned but had to trust him. If everyone truly united and brought in outside assistance, overcoming this crisis wouldn't be too difficult. Seeing that everyone ignoring him, Fugaku clenched his fists. It was precisely because the other ninjas in the village looked down on the Uchiha that he wanted to achieve more merit, become the fifth Hokage of the village, and take revenge for the humiliation he felt in that moment. After exchanging intelligence, Jiraiya and the other Jonin began tactical discussions. If Hidden Leaf Village chose to set an ambush, leveraging the terrain and waiting for the enemy, Hidden Leaf Village should be able to win the first wave of the attack. However, if the enemy chose to bombard them with tailed beast bombs directly, gathering for an ambush would only make them live targets. While Jiraiya and the others engaged in tactical discussions, Hidden Leaf Village's Anbu found Byakuya outside the camp. At this time, Byakuya was with Shizue, gazing towards the Land of Lightning, lost in thought. Noticing the Anbu behind him, Byakuya frowned and asked, what's the new assignment? The Anbu, aware of Byakuya's capabilities, quickly nodded and said, Lord Jiraiya asked me to inform you that the 4th Raikage and the Eight-Tails Jinchuriki are approaching this location. If possible, please assist Hidden Leaf Village. If you feel pressured, Lord Byakuya, you can leave now. There's no need to get involved in the war between Hidden Leaf Village and the Cloud. Byakuya was taken aback for a moment, then smiled and said, Jiraiya is still using the goading tactic. Don't worry. I won't leave. I was just thinking of fighting the 4th Raikage to see how strong he really is. Hearing this, The Anbu respectfully nodded and then returned to the command room to report the information. After the Hidden Leaf village Anbu left, Byakuya turned to Shizui and said lightly, "Shizui, a great battle is about to begin. Are you ready?" Chapter 191, Eight Tails Beast Bomb. Shizui, a big battle is about to start. Are you ready for it? After hearing this, Shizui didn't immediately reply to Byakuya. Instead, he focused intently on the distant forest, also sensing the tense atmosphere in the air. After spending time together over the past few days, Shizui had came to understand that beneath Byakuya's harmless appearance, there was a hidden devil. Byakuya was like a devil, manipulating both him and his clan, pushing the Uchiha step by step toward rebellion. His ultimate goal was to bring the entire Uchiha clan under his control. If Shizui were the same as he had been a few years ago, he would have already used Kotoa Mitsukami on Byakuya. Although Kotoa Mitsukami might not be able to completely solve the problem of this monster before him, it could at least alter Byakuya's will, stopping him from targeting the Uchiha clan. But now, Shizui was hesitating. He wasn't sure if the Uchiha were on the path of destruction, just like the Uzumaki clan had been. After all, the relationship between the Uzumaki and Senju clans had been far better than that between the Senju and Uchiha. When the Uzumaki clan was besieged, the wife of the first Hokage, Uzumaki Mido, had still been alive. After a moment of silence, the two of them returned to the command center. There, they found Jiraiya and the others fully prepared for battle. Jiraiya didn't waste any time with small talk and got straight to the point. According to the Hyuga ninjas' intelligence, more than 3,000 cloud ninjas are attacking our position. We have over 1,000 defenders on the front lines, enough to hold off the direct assault. Your mission is to hunt down the elite ninjas roaming along the battle lines. After hearing the details of their mission, both Byakuya and Shizui nodded, then left the command room. Not long after they left the camp, Byakuya stopped and pointed southeast. "Shizui, the enemy is here, just 3 kilometers away in the bushes." As soon as he finished speaking, Byakuya used the teleportation jutsu and disappeared. Hearing that the enemy was only 3 kilometers away, Shizui gained a new understanding of Byakuya's sensory abilities. A 3-kilometer range was comparable to the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan. Byakuya truly had no weaknesses as a ninja. Without thinking too much, Shizui followed Byakuya, and the two vanished into the forest. It didn't take long for them to encounter the vanguard of the Cloud Ninjas. These vanguard ninjas were all elite Chunin. Though not particularly powerful individually, their teamwork allowed them to exert strength comparable to that of Jonin. However, even Jonin-level ninjas stood no chance against Byakuya and Shizui. Although both of them were Jonin, their strength far surpassed that of most other Jonin. After slicing through a kunai, Shizui swiftly slit an enemy's throat and, in the blink of an eye, appeared next to another, driving the broken kunai into the Cloud Ninja's heart. While Shizui fought with a graceful and agile style, Byakuya's combat was simple and direct. He either flew into the sky and bombarded the enemy with exploding tags or unleashed large-scale water-style techniques to flood the surrounding forest. Cloud ninjas hit by Byakuya's attacks often didn't even leave behind a body. Seeing this, the remaining Cloud ninjas realized they had run into a tough opponent. The two young ninja in front of them were clearly not on the same level as the Cloud ninja. Only the elite Jonin from their village would be able to deal with these two monsters. With this realization, the Cloud Ninja exchanged glances and decided to retreat for now and wait for reinforcements. Due to the large number of vanguard ninjas, Byakuya and Shizui were unable to stop them from sending out a message. After dealing with all the nearby enemies, Byakuya habitually started collecting spoils of war. Seeing how calm Byakuya remained, Shizui's fear of him grew even stronger. This boy, who was even younger than himself, seemed almost as if he was born for war. As Shizui marveled at Byakuya's composure, a sense of mortal danger suddenly welled up in his heart. Byakuya also sensed something and looked into the distance. A pitch-black-tailed beast bomb shot out from a distant cliff, heading straight toward their position. Seeing this, Shizui activated his Mengekyo Sharingan, ready to summon Susanoo at any moment. However, Byakuya raised a hand to stop him, frowning as he said, "The tailed beast bomb isn't aimed at us. Don't waste your chakra." Before Byakuya had even finished speaking, the tailed beast bomb streaked past overhead and crashed in the direction of the Hidden Leaf village camp. Boom! With the rumbling of the earth and sky, a mushroom cloud rose in the direction of the Hidden Leaf village camp. Shizui's heart sank as he wondered how many Hidden Leaf village ninjas had perished in that single attack. Byakuya patted Shizui on the shoulder and said, "This is the power of a Jinchuriki. If you hadn't taken down Yujito back then, there would be 2 tailed beast bombs falling on a Hidden Leaf village camp right now." Shizui nodded but then suddenly remembered something and looked at Byakuya. Wait, since when was Yujito his kill? Wasn't it Byakuya who had forcefully subdued her with wood style? This was just part of their agreement. There was no need to pretend when no outsiders were around. Noticing the strange look in Shizue's eyes, Byakuya chuckled quietly to himself. This was exactly the effect he wanted. When a lie is repeated enough times, the truth no longer matters. It was just like the title of the strongest Hokage. At first, it might have been a way to stabilize people's hearts, but eventually, even Byakuya started believing it himself. Returning from his wandering thoughts, the two continued hunting cloud ninjas in the forest. With their highly efficient teamwork, they nearly wiped out the cloud ninjas in the surrounding area, which naturally drew the attention of the cloud's main forces. After confirming their location, Killer Bee, in his tailed beast form, began gathering chakra in his mouth. Moments later, a tailed beast bomb with an 80 to 20 balance of yin and yang chakra formed and was launched at Byakuya and Shizue. As the symbol of destruction tore through the sky with a supersonic roar, even Byakuya sensed the danger within it. He quickly formed hand seals and shouted, "Wood style, wood locking wall." In an instant, a bowl-shaped wooden structure materialized, covering the ground like an inverted bowl. With a deafening explosion, the tailed beast bomb hit the ground, unleashing a massive wave of energy in all directions. Even the previously uneven terrain was flattened by the blast. A few moments later, Byakuya and Shizue emerged from the wooden structure. Surveying the now leveled forest around them, Shizue's expression changed. He had thought that Yujito was already an incredibly powerful Jinchuriki, but the destructive power of the Eight Tails Jinchuriki was on a whole different level. Byakuya, however, wasn't paying attention to the landscape. His focus was entirely on Killer Bee. For Killer Bee to dare attack him like this, it was time to teach this inexperienced Eight Tails Jinchuriki the harsh realities of the ninja world. With that thought, Byakuya grabbed Shizue, and they flew into the sky, heading straight for Killer Bee's position. Chapter 192, The Advance of the Fourth Raikage. For Shizue, it was his first time experiencing the feeling of flying. As they flew higher and higher, the ground beneath them gradually became distant and insignificant. The battle between the Hidden Leaf Village and Cloud Ninjas below seemed like nothing more than ants fighting, completely detached from him. At that moment, Shizue suddenly thought of Byakuya, who was carrying him through the sky. He finally began to understand Byakuya's perspective. Once you master the ability to fly and reach a certain level of power, the battles between ninjas become meaningless. It felt as though one had become a god, overlooking the entire world. Was this how Byakuya had always viewed Hidden Leaf Village and the Uchiha? Shizue's thoughts didn't last long, as the cloud ninjas on the ground had already noticed them and began pulling out weapons to aim at them. Normal kunai and shuriken had an effective range of only a few dozen meters. Standard lightning and water-style techniques also struggled to hit enemies in the high sky. The only weapon capable of dealing damage was the kunai launcher used for attacking tailed beasts. However, even if a kunai launcher pierced Byakuya's body, it would do no real harm. Taking advantage of their altitude, Byakuya began raining explosive tags down on the enemy. The tags fell like snowflakes, each one causing a small-scale explosion upon hitting the ground. Under this near-saturation bombing of explosive tags, countless cloud ninjas scattered in all directions, but many still couldn't escape the blast radius. Only those who managed to hide under cover barely survived. Seeing this, Shizue gained a new appreciation for efficiency. He had always thought that his clan members, with their Sharingan activated, were killing machines on the battlefield. But Byakuya was something else entirely, a demon. If Byakuya had launched a similar attack on the cloud forces earlier, this war might have ended long ago. Whoosh! From the ground, Killer Bee launched another tail beast bomb. The roaring projectile was dodged by Byakuya, creating a second sun in the sky as it exploded. Without wasting any words, Byakuya continued his counterattack, throwing more explosive tags as he flew over Killer Bee, bombarding him relentlessly. Though the tailed beast form of Killer Bee was impervious to the explosions, the cloud ninjas around him weren't so fortunate. The blinding flashes of the exploding tags left everyone disoriented, while the violent shockwaves and detonations made it difficult to even stand still. Such an intense battle naturally drew the attention of everyone on the battlefield. Inside the Hidden Leaf Village camp, Jiraiya had just summoned Gamabunta to block a previous tailed beast bomb. Now, he was leading his troops in defending against the main cloud force. And on the opposing side, the commander was none other than the fourth Raikage, A. After engaging with the fourth Raikage, Jiraiya truly felt the overwhelming strength of his opponent. The Raikage wasn't particularly skilled in ninjutsu or ganjutsu. But with his sheer speed and power, the Raikage could easily defeat Jonin, even shattering low-level ninjutsu with a single punch, turning the tide of battle against Hidden Leaf Village's Jonin. Faced with the ferocious assault of the fourth Raikage, Jiraiya anxiously asked the toad on his shoulder, "Master Fukasaku, how much longer until I complete Sage Mode?" "Don't rush, Jiraiya boy. Gathering natural energy isn't that easy. Fukasaku replied. Please hurry, Master Fukasaku. I don't think Shikaku and the others can hold out much longer. Besides the fourth Raikage, there's also the eight-tails Jinchuriki lurking nearby, ready to strike. Shima, the female toad sage, scoffed and said, it's not that bad. The Jinchuriki has already been held up. There's quite an intense battle happening over there. Jiraiya was momentarily stunned, then looked off into the distance. There, the sky was shrouded in dark clouds, with flashes of lightning and streaks of red clouds within them. The ground trembled from distant shocks. Seeing this, Jiraiya muttered to himself, isn't that the direction where Byakuya and Shizue are? Looks like they're the ones fighting the eight-tails Jinchuriki. The fourth Raikage also noticed the commotion coming from Byakuya's direction and narrowed his gazes. He had confidence in his brother Killer Bee's strength, but the fact that Killer Bee hadn't came to support him yet suggested trouble. Was Bee facing someone like Orochimaru, or maybe Denzo or the third Hokage himself? Or, perhaps, was the Hidden Leaf Village ninja who had taken down Yuji Tobakata again? At this thought, the fourth Raikage felt a surge of unease. He immediately increased the output of his lightning-style chakra mode and charged straight at Jiraiya. As long as he could eliminate Jiraiya, the commander, this offensive would be over. At that moment, the Hidden Leaf Village ninjas realized the Raikage's panic and rushed forward. They shared the same thought, if they could take down the strongest Raikage, the war would quickly end. However, the exhausted members of the Inoshikacho trio were no match for the fourth Raikage. The Shadow Possession Jutsu couldn't keep up with his speed, making the mind-body switch technique useless. The Expansion Jutsu, in front of the Raikage's agility, was nothing more than a joke. Seeing this, Funin Uchiha led the Uchiha clan members to face off against the Raikage. The Uchiha Jonin all activated their three Tomoe Sharingan and tried to trap the fourth Raikage in a Ganjutsu, but the Raikage didn't give them a chance to make eye contact. He darted around the battlefield, and the blinding lightning surrounding him blocked the activation of their Ganjutsu. Realizing their illusions were ineffective, Fugaku quickly used the teleportation jutsu to appear in front of the Raikage and stabbed at him with a kunai. Clang! The kunai snapped in half upon contact with the Raikage's hardened body, falling to the ground in pieces. The fourth Raikage broke through the Uchiha encirclement and continued his charge toward Jiraiya. At that moment, Hisashi Hyuga and the Hyuga clan appeared before the Raikage. With a swift movement, Hisashi appeared in front of him and performed the 8 trigrams palm rotation. As Hisashi spun like a top, a whirlwind appeared on the spot, forcefully stopping the Raikage's advance. Other Hyuga ninjas quickly joined the fray, shouting, 8 trigrams, 32 palms. A flurry of precise strikes rained down on the Raikage, leaving white marks on his skin. A faint smile appeared on Hisashi's lips. He knew the fourth Raikage's defense was comparable to a tailed beast's, but the gentle fist technique excelled at bypassing outer defenses and attacking the internal organs. No matter how strong the Raikage was, his organs couldn't be harder than steel. However, the fourth Raikage endured the gentle fist attacks, pressing onward until he was right in front of Jiraiya. With a fierce punch, he aimed directly at Jiraiya, who was kneeling on the ground, still gathering natural energy. His fist was mere inches from Jiraiya's face. In the next moment, Jiraiya raised his head and caught the Raikage's fist with his hand. His face was now painted with oil and markings, radiating a powerful aura. This was none other than the sage mode of Mount Myabaku. Chapter 193, Shizue vs Killer Bee. On the other side, after dealing with the weaker Cloud Ninjas on the ground, Byakuya gently descended with Shizue. The Cloud Ninjas, who had suffered heavy losses, gripped their weapons tightly as they surrounded the two with bloodshot eyes and gritted teeth, their resolve burning fiercely. Seeing this, Byakuya patted Shizue's shoulder and casually said, I'm not really good at fighting. I'll leave the 8-tails Jinchuriki to you. I'll handle these Cloud Ninja fodder. Hearing this, Shizue's face turned pale. Suppressing the 2-tails Jinchuriki and bombing the Cloud Ninja's main forces, did he really consider that not good at fighting? However, with the 8-tails Jinchuriki, Killer Bee, closing in, Shizue had no choice but to steel himself. Locking eyes with Bee, Shizue activated his Sharingan and cast a Ganjutsu. For a moment, the 3 Tomoe reflection appeared in Bee's eyes, and he fell under the Ganjutsu's control. Having learned from his previous encounter with Bee, Shizue didn't let his guard down. He threw a few kunai wrapped with explosive tags and charged toward Killer Bee with his sword. However, Killer Bee, completely unfazed by the Ganjutsu, easily knocked the kunai aside with his sword, causing the explosive tags to detonate behind him. Seeing Shizue use the body flicker jutsu, Bee calmly pulled out more swords and, using his 7-sword style, skillfully engaged Shizue in a fight, managing to fend off both his real body and his illusions. Shijue's face changed slightly, but he quickly shifted into the Mengekyo Sharingan form and launched another assault on Killer Bee. Byakuya stood still, observing the battle between Shijue and Killer Bee, quietly assessing Bee's strength. Unlike Yujito, who specialized in ambush tactics, Killer Bee excelled in direct combat. Both his taijutsu and ninjutsu were at the Kage level, making him one of the top Kage level combatants in the entire ninja world. Against someone like Bee, Shijue, who had barely reached the Kage level thanks to his Mengekyo Sharingan, was naturally at a significant disadvantage. Even if Shijue used his last resort, Kodoa Matsukami, it would still be difficult for him to beat Killer Bee. The reason was simple: Kodoa Matsukami might seem like a high-tier ability, allowing Shijue to subtly alter an enemy's will without them realizing it. This ability was indeed nearly unbeatable in one-on-one combat. However, Kodoa Matsukami had several serious flaws. It could be detected and even dispelled. Additionally, it could only control a single target at a time and couldn't fully manipulate a Jinchuriki. Looking at the current situation, Shijue was bound to lose to Killer Bee sooner or later unless he used Susanoo to fight Bee head-on. But Bee could also enter full-tailed beast mode. While Byakuya was carefully analyzing the situation, the nearby cloud ninjas swarmed around him. They surrounded Byakuya, but none of them dared to attack first. The memory of his devastating bombing assault still lingered, making them hesitant and fearful. Ignoring their indecision, Byakuya calmly pulled out a summoning scroll from his robe. Seeing this, the cloud ninjas grew even more anxious, fearing that Byakuya was about to summon another powerful weapon to attack them. However, as the white smoke cleared, all that appeared was a small stool. Sitting on the small stool, Byakuya leisurely looked around at the surrounding cloud ninjas and shouted, "I know none of you have balls to attack me, but I also don't want to kill too many people either. So how about this? If you all just stay where you are and don't interfere in this battle, I won't intervene either. Let's just sit back and watch this farce together, alright?" Byakuya's relaxed tone and friendly smile made him appear like a peaceful mediator. However, the cloud ninjas knew all too well that this seemingly harmless boy had just slaughtered hundreds of their comrades in the earlier fight. Faced with such terrifying power, even the battle-hardened cloud ninjas, known for their warrior spirit, couldn't help but feel a sense of fear. At the same time, Shijue's strength also shocked them. When had the Uchiha clan produced a ninja capable of fighting on equal footing with Lord Killer Bee? And what was with that strange Sharingan? Could it be the legendary Mengekyo Sharingan? With these thoughts running through their minds, the cloud ninjas, despite wanting to assist Killer Bee, didn't dare to move after hearing Byakuya's words. A growing desire to flee took root in their hearts. They weren't afraid of dying but feared dying for no reason. If their deaths could help Cloud Village expand its territory, they would willingly give their lives. But with no real gains to be had, they didn't want to throw their lives away meaninglessly. As these thoughts swirled, a strange scene unfolded on the battlefield. On one side, Shijue and Killer Bee were locked in intense combat. On the other, Byakuya sat watching the battle with amusement, surrounded by cloud ninjas too frightened to move. Killer Bee also noticed the bizarre situation, his expression growing more serious. Although he had the upper hand against Shijue thanks to his advantage as a Jinchuriki, he still had to remain vigilant against Byakuya, who watched them like a hawk from the sidelines. By this point, he had a vague sense of how Yujito had disappeared. Yujito was likely defeated by Shijue and Byakuya. After all, Shijue alone was strong enough to challenge her, and with Byakuya's help, defeating her would have been easy. With this in mind, Killer Bee mentally called out, "Juki, Juki, are you there? What do you make of that kid over there?" The Eight Tails, Juki, who was used to Killer Bee's constant rapping, stirred at his call. As it spread its chakra outward, it spotted Byakuya sitting in the distance and frowned, replying, "I don't know who that kid is, but his chakra level is on par with a tailed beast." "Are you sure?" Killer Bee asked, unusually serious. Juki nodded and said, "I don't want to believe it either, but there are quite a few monsters in the ninja world with chakra rivaling a tailed beast. Your brother is one of them, and that kid is another. Plus, I'm sensing a few familiar auras from him. You'd best not provoke him." Killer Bee's expression shifted. He knew what Juki's warning implied, but he also trusted his brother's judgment. Could it be that the Cloud Village was truly heading toward a crushing defeat today? With that thought, Killer Bee leapt high into the air, gazing toward the distant Hidden Leaf Village camp. Within the Hidden Leaf Village camp, several massive chakra signatures could be felt. One of them was intensely violet, brimming with lightning chakra, which was undoubtedly his brother, the Raikage. The other chaotic signature was unknown. But whatever the case, it seemed his brother was facing trouble and needed his help as soon as possible. Glancing at Shijue, who was still engaged in their battle, Killer Bee quickly formed hand seals. Several blobs of ink split from his body, instantly taking his shape. The ink clones then self-destructed on the spot, and in the ensuing chaos, Killer Bee took the opportunity to slip away. Chapter 194, The Ridiculous Cloud and Hidden Leaf Village. Emerging from the explosion of the ink clone, Shizue did not pursue the retreating Killer Bee. Instead, he turned to Byakuya, who had been watching the battle for some time, and curiously asked, "Lord Byakuya, why didn't you stop Killer Bee?" Byakuya, remembering something, replied, "Killer Bee's strength is not on the same level as Yujito's. Even if the two of us joined forces, it would be a tough battle. There's no need to complicate things further. Besides, the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan isn't quite as legendary as I expected. You're much weaker than the fabled Madara Uchiha. You can't even fully control a Jinchuriki." Shizue fell silent. While the Mangekyo had indeed enhanced his strength, apart from Susanoo, the other improvements were not as significant. It certainly wasn't as overwhelmingly powerful as the legends suggested. Byakuya chuckled, then said, "Madara Uchiha wasn't that strong from the beginning either. One day, your power might surpass his, but for now, you should focus on yourself. Your Mangekyo has already been exposed. Killer Bee saw your Sharingan, and so did all these cloud ninjas." Hearing this, Shizue glanced at the trembling cloud ninjas nearby and sighed softly. "Ever since that day, I stopped trying to hide my Mangekyo. Only by showing enough strength can I protect the clan. Protecting the Uchiha with just this power won't be enough. It's not only the people in the Hokage building who are plotting against your clan." Byakuya gave Shizue a meaningful look, then said, "The ones who will ultimately destroy the Uchiha will be the Uchiha themselves." Shizue pondered this cryptic statement, feeling that Byakuya was hinting at something, but he had no idea what exactly. He looked at Byakuya again, only to see him with an inscrutable expression, which left Shizue feeling even more perplexed. Sighing, Shizue gave up trying to figure it out and said, "Lord Byakuya, I'll go help Lord Jiraiya. I'll leave these cloud ninjas to you." With that, Shizue disappeared in a flash. After Shizue left, Byakuya turned his attention to the cloud ninjas. He found a Jonin who looked like a leader and directly asked, "Where are Sasori of the Red Sand and Kakazu?" The cloud Jonin was momentarily stunned, then his face twisted in terror. Sasori and Kakazu were external mercenaries Cloud Village had recruited recently. They had killed many Hidden Leaf Village shinobi on behalf of Cloud. How could this Hidden Leaf Village ninja know them? At that moment, the Jonin realized something terrifying. Byakuya must be in the same organization as Kakazu and Sasori. They were all mercenaries who knew each other, manipulating the war from the shadows. In front of them, both Hidden Leaf Village and Cloud were nothing but playthings. How ridiculous. Seeing that the Cloud Jonin was unwilling to answer, Byakuya immediately used Ganjutsu to force the information out of him. He quickly learned the location of Sasori and Kakazu and vanished into the forest. As Byakuya disappeared using the body flicker jutsu, the surrounding cloud ninjas let out a collective sigh of relief. The boy, who had descended upon them like a demon lord, was finally gone. But was there even a need for this war to continue? Should they still go and support the fourth Raikage and Lord Killer Bee? They exchanged glances and saw the same confusion in each other's eyes. In the end, with heavy sighs, they came to an unspoken agreement. This war between Cloud Village, Hidden Leaf Village, and the Land of Hotwater was nearing its end. In another part of the battlefield, the Raikage, in his lightning-style chakra mode, was unstoppable. His speed, strength, and defense were all greatly enhanced, and even basic ninjutsu couldn't harm him. Among the Hidden Leaf Village ninjas present, the only one left who could face him was Jiraiya. In Sage mode, although Jiraiya's speed and strength still couldn't match the fourth Raikage, he was able to barely withstand the Raikage's relentless attacks thanks to his frog kumite and the buffering of natural energy. As he used the force of the Raikage's punch to leap backward and create distance, Jiraiya quickly formed hand seals and shouted, "Sage art, go Aemon." With his shout, the two sages on his shoulders, Fukasaku and Shima, also formed seals. Fukasaku launched a powerful wind style, while Shima released a stream of oil release. Finally, Jiraiya spewed out a stream of fire, completing the sage art, go Aemon technique. In an instant, a fan-shaped wall of fire formed, reaching thousands of degrees in temperature, distorting the air around it as it swept across the battlefield like a tidal wave. Even the fourth Raikage, as formidable as he was, couldn't afford to directly confront such intense heat. As the flames closed in, he quickly vanished from the area enveloped by the Goemon, reappearing on the ground beside Jiraiya. At this moment, the Raikage felt a surge of relief that he hadn't charged in with his subordinates earlier. Although Hidden Leaf Village lacked a proper Jinchuriki due to the chaos caused by the Nine Tails incident, the combination of Jiraiya and his summoned beasts could easily match a Jinchuriki's strength. And this was just one of the legendary Sannin. Besides Jiraiya, Hidden Leaf Village still had Tsunade and Orochimaru. As the fourth Raikage dodged the flames, other Hidden Leaf Village ninjas joined the fray, keeping a close eye on him. Though the Raikage possessed near-beast level regeneration and chakra reserves, he wasn't invincible. 7 or 8 years ago, Hidden Stone's villages on Oki had devised a plan to surround and wear down the third Raikage, who had the strength to physically combat tailed beasts. They managed to exhaust and kill him in battle. If they could defeat or even kill the fourth Raikage here, this war would quickly come to an end. Just then, a booming voice echoed behind the Hidden Leaf Village ninjas, followed by a blood-red figure breaking through the sound barrier, charging toward them at high speed. Lariat. The incoming figure was none other than Killer Bee, the Eight-Tails Jinchuriki. Sensing that the fourth Raikage might be in danger, Killer Bee had rushed to the battlefield, hoping to assist his brother. In response to Killer Bee's lariat, both Hayashi Hyuga and Choza Akimaki stepped forward. Using his massive, enlarged body and the 8 trigrams palm rotation in tandem, they managed to block Killer Bee's attack, but Choza was forced to cancel his partial expansion jutsu, and Hayashi felt as though his bones were about to break. Though the two had successfully stopped Killer Bee, they couldn't prevent him from reuniting with the fourth Raikage. As Killer Bee arrived at his brother's side, the Raikage immediately asked, "Killer Bee, why did it take you so long to come to my aid? Where's the rest of the backup?" "Big bro, about that." Killer Bee started to speak but was cut off by the Raikage's sharp glare, prompting him to answer honestly, "I was held up by an Uchiha and some kid, that's why I was delayed." "An Uchiha? One who could stop you?" The Raikage's face darkened. Killer Bee hurriedly explained, "Not just any Uchiha, he has the Mangekyo Sharingan. And that kid? He has an endless supply of explosive tags." "Mangekyo Sharingan?" Upon hearing this, the Raikage's expression became grim. When had Hidden Leaf Village gained a Mangekyo Sharingan user? They had hidden this ace so well, it seemed Hidden Leaf Village had intentionally feigned weakness to lure them into a trap and weaken their forces. The faces of the Hidden Leaf Village ninjas also changed upon hearing the words Mangekyo Sharingan. They realized the significance of this revelation. Chapter 195, Byakuya, the peacemaker for the Hidden Leaf Village shinobi. The Sharingan wasn't a rare sight. It was common enough that you might even pass by a Jonin with activated Sharingan while shopping for groceries in the village. However, once the word Mangekyo was added in front of Sharingan, the significance changed entirely. Ever since the rogue ninja Madara Uchiha was supposedly killed by the first Hokage, the Uchiha clan hadn't produced another Mangekyo Sharingan user. After several decades, many had come to believe the Mangekyo was no more than a legend. But now, hearing the term Mangekyo Sharingan from Killer Bee's mouth sent waves of shock through the Hidden Leaf Village ninjas. At that moment, the air was pierced by a sharp sound, and Shizue Uchiha, wielding the Mangekyo Sharingan, arrived at the battlefield. Upon seeing Shizue's Mangekyo, shaped like a spinning shuriken, the Hidden Leaf Village ninjas quickly realized who had awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan. Shizue noticed the unusual gazes from his comrades but disregarded them. He swiftly teleported to Jiraiya's side, speaking urgently, "Jiraiya-sama, the priority right now is dealing with the fourth Raikage and Killer Bee. We can discuss other matters after the battle." Hearing this, Jiraiya nodded and called out to the Hidden Leaf Village forces beside him, "Everyone, with Shizue's help, we are certain to secure victory in this war." With those words, Jiraiya charged towards the fourth Raikage. Trusting in Shizue, Jiraiya didn't hesitate, and Shizue, in turn, disregarded the chakra cost, activating his Susanoo. A vibrant green projection surrounded him, transforming into a massive samurai wielding a spiral-long sword. For many of the Hidden Leaf Village ninjas, this was their first time witnessing Susanoo. From its immense size, they realized it was a power that could rival even tailed beasts. Emboldened by this, the Hidden Leaf Village shinobi renewed their assault, charging towards the Cloud Ninjas. The battlefield erupted into chaos, filled with the sound of explosive tags and the shouts of ninjutsu being cast, turning the area into an apocalyptic war zone. Among those fighting was Fugaku Uchiha, though his gaze kept drifting towards Shizue's Susanoo. His suspicions had been correct, Shizue had indeed awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan. Yet, when Fugaku had asked Shizue directly, Shizue had vehemently denied it. Now, with Jiraiya in danger, Shizue stood resolutely by Jiraiya's side. "Shizue Uchiha," Fugaku thought bitterly, "do you really have no loyalty to your clan?" Jiraiya, who was still locked in battle with the fourth Raikage, was also puzzled. He remembered that Shizue had been on a mission with Byakuya to infiltrate the enemy. Now that Shizue had returned, where had Byakuya gone? Had something happened during his fight with Killer Bee? And if Byakuya was in danger, how would Hidden Leaf Village explain this to Henzo of the Salamander? While the battle between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Cloud's village raged on, Byakuya, led by the Cloud Ninjas, had already located Sasori and Kakazu. The moment Kakazu saw Byakuya, he recognized him immediately. Frowning, Kakazu said, "Byakuya-sama, you're currently working as a mercenary for Hidden Leaf Village, while I am hired by Hidden Clouds Village. Shouldn't we be having a major showdown right about now? Your bounty on the black market isn't exactly low." Byakuya raised an eyebrow, his expression darkening as he replied, "Kakazu, are you planning to betray me?" Hearing the tense exchange between Byakuya and Kakazu, the surrounding cloud ninjas turned their attention toward them. Could there be an internal conflict brewing between Byakuya and Kakazu? If so, this might present a perfect opportunity for Hidden Clouds Village forces. Kakazu's expression was serious as he said, "Byakuya-sama, you once said you value principles." Byakuya chuckled, casually tossing a gold coin into Kakazu's hand. "Is this enough to satisfy your principles?" Kakazu grinned and replied, "You jest, Byakuya-sama. Money is my principle." Glancing at the anxious cloud ninjas around them, Sasori couldn't help but comment, "Byakuya, your nature hasn't changed. We could have met secretly, yet here you are, toying with their emotions. Compared to you, the ruthless puppet master, playing with hearts causes far less harm." Byakuya shot back. Sasori had no rebuttal. He had indeed gathered a considerable amount of corpses during this war, providing ample research material for the coming years. Kakazu, who had also earned a good deal of bounty from this battle, simply viewed the demand for money as part of his character. After securing the gold in a pouch at his waist, Kakazu turned to Byakuya. "Byakuya-sama, the war between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village has reached a critical phase. Should we interfere with their conflict?" Byakuya replied slowly, "If we don't intervene in this battlefield, wouldn't our presence here be in vain? However, our small group lacks the power to influence the decisive battle between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village. We need to wait for further reinforcements." "Our small group lacks power?" Sasori couldn't believe his ears. They were 3 individuals with Kage-level strength. Whether they joined Hidden Leaf Village or Hidden Clouds Village, they could shift the war's trajectory. Kakazu seemed to remember something, a sly smile creeping across his face. At first, he thought Byakuya intended to use this war to profit for the Akatsuki, assuming that engaging in war was more lucrative than honest farming or trading. Unexpectedly, Byakuya aimed to manipulate both Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village simultaneously. Without further explanation, Byakuya silently gazed toward the distant forest, patiently awaiting reinforcements. Before long, several figures clad in fire cloud attire appeared before Byakuya. The leader was none other than Yahiko, the leader of the Hidden Rain Village. Following him were Konan and other members of the Akatsuki. As soon as Yahiko laid eyes on Byakuya, he asked anxiously, "Byakuya, what did you mean in your letter about stopping the war between the Cloud and Hidden Leaf Village? It looks like a full-blown battle is taking place here." Konan echoed his concern, "What's going on? Did you really bring us here to end the war?" Byakuya nodded slightly, then explained, "Do you remember what I mentioned before? The war between Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Leaf Village won't end until both sides are exhausted to a certain extent." "I remember, but Hidden Leaf Village and Cloud still have the potential to fight." Byakuya smiled, revealing a meaningful expression. "Yes, they do for now. But soon they won't. If we can capture the leaders of both sides and threaten them with their lives, peace can be achieved." Yahiko and Konan's expressions turned stiff at his words. No wonder Byakuya had used the excuse of being short on manpower to summon them. They had previously doubted whether he was being lazy since his strength could directly impact the war. They had not expected him to suggest stopping the war in such an extreme manner, using the lives of both leaders as leverage. It was a method unlike anything they had ever heard of. Yet, it was indeed the most efficient approach at that moment, and they had no other choice. As long as they could establish peace between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village, they were willing to try, even if the method was too radical. Mediating the conflicts between the 5 great nations had been their long-standing dream. Chapter 196, Do You Still Want to Continue Fighting? After reluctantly agreeing to Byakuya's plan, the group made their way toward the center of the battlefield. On the way, they encountered Hidden Leaf Village ninjas engaged in combat with Cloud ninjas. Upon seeing Byakuya and his companions, who were dressed in fire cloud attire, the ninjas immediately halted their fighting. One Hidden Leaf Village ninja recognized Yahiko and quickly said, "Yahiko-sama, are you here to support Jiraiya-sama? With your assistance, Hidden Leaf Village will surely defeat Hidden Clouds Village." Yahiko remained silent, but Konan interjected, "We are here to end this war. Both sides, lay down your weapons immediately, or prepare for another fight." The Hidden Leaf Village ninja wanted to say more, but upon seeing the explosive tags hovering in the air, he obediently shut his mouth. The Cloud ninjas were also not courageous enough to mock them, unsure if these rain ninjas would suddenly launch an attack. With their presence intimidating countless ninjas, Byakuya and his group successfully reached the center of the battlefield. At this point, the battle between the 4th Raikage and Jiraiya had intensified. Both the 4th Raikage and Jiraiya, who were the main forces, bore injuries and their chakra was unstable, making it possible for them to lose control of their chakra modes at any moment. Although Shisui was no match for Killer Bee, his Susanoo served as an excellent shield. With the support of numerous Hidden Leaf Village Jonin, they had slightly gained the upper hand over Killer Bee. However, Bee's chakra seemed endless, making it difficult for him to be defeated anytime soon. Seeing the evenly matched situation on the battlefield, Byakuya couldn't help but exclaim, "Yahiko, if we were to kill all the ninjas present, do you think it could spark a new ninja world war? By then all the nations would fight over the land of lightning and the land of fire, engaging in a fierce struggle." Hearing this, Yahiko felt a rush of panic. He cautiously said to Byakuya, "Byakuya, you must be joking, right? Looks like I can't hide it from you, Boss Yahiko." Byakuya scratched his head and continued, "What can I say? I have a kind heart, I'm the peacemaker of the ninja world. Without me here, the entire ninja world would descend into chaos." As for Byakuya's self-praise, the Akatsuki ninjas present wanted to retort but found no words to do so. Given the current situation, Byakuya was indeed a key figure in maintaining the balance in a ninja world. If he were to truly eliminate the combatants on both sides, the ninja world would undoubtedly plunge into great chaos. However, whether it would be the nations attacking Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village or targeting Hidden Rain Village was uncertain. The arrival of Byakuya and his group soon drew the attention of Jiraiya and the 4th Raikage, both of whom stopped fighting. With confidence, Jiraiya declared, "4th Raikage, you might as well surrender now. A few of my students are as strong as I am, and they have come to support Hidden Leaf Village." The 4th Raikage's expression darkened, but surrender was out of the question. There was only a dead Raikage, not a surrendering one. However, why were these rain ninjas helping Hidden Leaf Village? Had the Amigare secretly reached an agreement with Hidden Leaf Village? At that moment, Byakuya slowly descended from the air, positioning himself between Jiraiya and the 4th Raikage. He said, "I'm sorry, but we are not on Hidden Leaf Village's side, nor are we on Hidden Clouds Village's side. We are here to do just one thing, to end this war." The 4th Raikage noticed Kakazu and Sasori next to Byakuya and snorted coldly, saying, "War merchants like you sure have guts to talk about ending wars? Your Amigare must be profiting from both sides." Byakuya didn't deny it as he nodded lightly. "What you say is true, Raikage, but we are indeed here to end this war. If any of you wish to continue fighting, we of the Amigare will attack whoever it is." Upon hearing this, the 4th Raikage's expression changed instantly as he disappeared from his spot, lunging toward Byakuya. Compared to verbal exchanges, the 4th Raikage preferred the collision of fists. If he couldn't be persuaded through force, any words would be ineffective. Byakuya was well aware of this. Sensing the 4th Raikage's position, he moved to confront him directly. Before long, Byakuya felt the Raikage's overwhelming power. Each punch exchanged with him left Byakuya's arms tingling, and his whole body trembled. Is this the speed and strength of the 4th Raikage? It surpasses even that of the tailed beasts. Quickly creating distance, Byakuya kept a close eye on the 4th Raikage, suspecting that the Yatsuki clan might have some Motsutsuki bloodline. Otherwise, how could their physical constitution be so formidable? After all, his own bloodline was already close to Ashura, not far from the sage body. As Byakuya was astonished, the 4th Raikage was equally shocked. Apart from his father and Killer Bee, it was the first time he encountered a ninja daring enough to face him head-on. Who is this kid? Why does he possess such a powerful physique? If this kid teamed up with Jiraiya, he might be thoroughly defeated. With this thought in mind, the 4th Raikage placed his hands on his hips, pondering how to secure more advantageous terms for Hidden Clouds Village in the upcoming discussions. Seeing Byakuya's formidable strength, many Hidden Leaf Village ninjas wanted to rush in and attack. In their view, Amigare clearly stood with them, and the so-called end to the war was merely a way to tilt the scales in favor of Hidden Leaf Village. At this moment, Kakazu and the others blocked the Hidden Leaf Village ninjas' path. Yahiko and Conan also stopped Jiraiya, solemnly saying, "Jiraiya-sensei, please ask the Hidden Leaf Village ninjas to refrain from acting rashly. We are here to facilitate a serious discussion. If there are issues, they can be resolved at the negotiation table. There's no need to provoke a war." Jiraiya glanced at Yahiko and Conan, recalling what he had previously said, then sighed softly, saying, "Hidden Leaf Village is the victim in this war and so, we are naturally willing to negotiate. But the Raikage kid isn't necessarily on board. They are currently occupying the land of hot water and show no signs of wanting to give up the war." Hearing this, the 4th Raikage felt displeased from afar and retorted, Jiraiya, what does the Land of Hot Water have to do with Hidden Leaf Village? We sent troops to assist the Land of Hot Water in quelling rebellion. You are the ones who deliberately intervened in this war. Raikage, the Land of Hot Water is an ally of Hidden Leaf Village, and so, when our allies are attacked, we must retaliate. Jiraiya countered without backing down, firmly believing that Hidden Leaf Village was on the side of justice. The fourth Raikage sneered, is the Land of Hot Water truly on Hidden Leaf Village's side? During the last Ninja World War, Hidden Hot Water Village was an ally of Hidden Clouds Village. It was you Hidden Leaf Village who assassinated Hidden Hot Water Village leader, forcing them to side with Hidden Leaf Village. Is that so? Jiraiya was taken aback. He hadn't known this key information. As Jiraiya and the fourth Raikage argued publicly, revealing secrets without a care, the surrounding ninjas stopped fighting, waiting for a shift in the situation. At this point, whether they could determine a winner or loser was no longer important to these ordinary ninjas. Then, Byakuya suddenly interjected, sorry to interrupt you ladies, but if you want to argue, you can wait until the war is over. You still haven't answered my question. Do Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village still want to continue fighting? Chapter 197, Hidden Rain Village and the Demigod. Jiraiya glanced at his two disciples in front of him, then looked at Byakuya and the fourth Raikage in the distance, slowly saying, Byakuya, Hidden Leaf Village agrees to stop this war. For Jiraiya, agreeing to peace wasn't difficult. Hidden Leaf Village was already on the defensive in this war. Had it not been for Hidden Clouds Village's attack on the Land of Hot Water, Hidden Leaf Village wouldn't have been forced into this conflict. As for the fourth Raikage's claim that Hidden Leaf Village had previously assassinated high-ranking officials from the Land of Hot Water, Jiraiya had never heard of it, but he didn't completely rule out the possibility. He and Hiruzen never resorted to assassination, but Denzo and Orochimaru might not share the same principles. Upon hearing that Jiraiya was willing to end the war, Byakuya nodded slightly and then turned his gaze to the fourth Raikage not far away, casually saying, Jiraiya has agreed, but what about you, Raikage? With everyone's eyes on him, the fourth Raikage's expression darkened and shifted unpredictably. Reluctantly, he replied, Hidden Clouds Village also agrees to stop the offensive. I will issue orders for all Cloud Ninjas to withdraw from the Land of Fire. Seeing that the Raikage was also willing to negotiate, the tense atmosphere eased considerably. If they could leverage this opportunity to end the war, it would be a decent outcome. Byakuya smiled, forming two shadow clones with hand seals before walking towards Jiraiya and the Raikage. As he extended his hand, he said, I just love obedient shinobis. So, why don't we talk and have a cup of tea? Jiraiya grasped Byakuya's hand, feeling the vast chakra within him through their physical contact. This level of chakra was not inferior to his own. Although the fourth Raikage was somewhat reluctant, he also shook Byakuya's hand. At that moment, Byakuya spoke in a voice only the two of them could hear, Raikage, let me share a secret with you. During our earlier fight, I was holding back. I'm actually not very good at physical combat. The fourth Raikage froze for a moment, unsure whether to believe Byakuya. Forcing the two of them toward the center of the arena, Byakuya was satisfied after they reluctantly shook hands and made peace, then returned to Yahiko's side. Yahiko nervously asked, Byakuya, what should we do next? Byakuya rolled his eyes and replied, well we host the peace talks. Isn't that always your responsibility? Why are you asking me? Yahiko was momentarily taken aback and then awkwardly said, that's true. I almost forgot. But after our intervention, can Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village really achieve peace? Of course not. We are only forcibly halting their war. Even without us, this war would end within half a year. We're just speeding up the process. Byakuya explained to Yahiko. Yahiko's expression changed slightly as he said, if that's the case, doesn't our intervention have no real impact? It would be the same whether the Akatsuki is involved or not. Byakuya shook his head, saying, there are still some differences. At least Hidden Rain Village has made a considerable profit, and peace has arrived a few years earlier. Don't forget, without us, Hidden Rain Village would still be embroiled in internal strife. Hearing this, Yahiko took a deep breath and said, Byakuya, you used to oppose the organization's ideology, but now it seems I'm the one hesitating. After becoming the leader of Hidden Rain Village, I might not be as pure as I once was. Byakuya sighed, this is the price of growth. Yahiko, go represent the Akatsuki in the negotiations between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village. Yahiko nodded vigorously and then walked toward Jiraiya and the fourth Raikage. Central battlefield representatives from Hidden Clouds Village, Hidden Rain Village, and Hidden Leaf Village sat in a position created by Earth-style, discussing how to end the conflict and balance the interests of Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village. While a peace agreement might not emerge from this meeting, the discussions could influence future formal talks. However, among the numerous ninjas present, The most attention was not focused on the three leaders but rather on Byakuya, who had just dramatically intervened and single-handedly halted the war. The Hidden Leaf Village ninjas were not unfamiliar with Byakuya. He was a disciple of Hanzo of the Salamander and one of the senior members of Hidden Rain Village. He had previously demonstrated his Jonin level strength in Hidden Leaf Village and now stood capable of directly contending with the fourth Raikage. Though it was the first time the Cloud Ninjas encountered Byakuya, his figure was deeply etched into their memories. His actions today had been extraordinarily brilliant. Even if the other four shadows had arrived in person, they would likely not have been able to display such a firm stance before the Raikage. Byakuya's show of strength was not motivated by a desire to seize a land or pursue commissions, it was solely to promote peace between the two major ninja villages. His actions inevitably reminded everyone of Hanzo the Salamander over 20 years ago. Back then, Hanzo, young and talented, had led Hidden Rain Village in openly opposing the five great ninja villages. Although ultimately defeated, he earned the title of demigod for his efforts. This was also one of the reasons why Hidden Rain Village was not declared war upon in the Third Shinobi World War. Now, Hidden Rain Village had produced another figure reminiscent of a demigod, and this time, they came with a team. Among the crowd, Shikaku Nara occasionally glanced toward Byakuya with a stiff face. Choza Akimeki noticed Shikaku's furrowed brow and, while chewing on some jerky, asked, "Shikaku, isn't it a good thing that the war has stopped?" "Why the long face?" "Ending the war is certainly a good thing, but have you noticed those Akatsuki ninjas?" Shikaku replied. "They're strong, but what's the problem?" Choza asked, taking another bite of the grilled meat. Shikaku let out a soft sigh. These people have exhibited elite Jonin level strength, even rivaling the five Kage. With so many powerful figures together, do you think they'd be willing to remain in a small place like the Land of Rain? Choza chewed thoughtfully. Go on. Seeing Choza treat his analysis as a snack, Shikaku felt a bit helpless but continued, Hidden Rain Village's strength has far surpassed the limits of the Land of Rain. Moving forward, they will either expand into the surrounding small nations or launch wars against larger countries. They intervened in our war with Hidden Clouds Village for two reasons. One is Jiraiya's request, and the other is to bolster the reputation of Hidden Rain Village in preparation for future expansion. Even if we hadn't sent a message, Hidden Rain Village would have undoubtedly intervened in this war. I just didn't expect that instead of taking advantage of the chaos to swallow up the Land of Grass and other small countries, Hidden Rain Village would push for peace between us and Hidden Clouds Village, enhancing their reputation. It won't be long before those villages threatened by the five great nations will flock to Hidden Rain Village. At this point, Shikaku fell silent, looking toward the direction of Byakuya with a gaze full of apprehension. Although Hidden Rain Village seemed to be aiding Hidden Leaf Village, they posed a threat to Hidden Leaf Village's long-term interests. Byakuya also noticed Shikaku's gaze and responded with a smile that was not quite a smile. Chapter 198, The Reputation of Hidden Rain Village. Since the first Hokage quelled the chaos of the warring states, Hidden Leaf Village had never seized any land in the three great wars. On one hand, Hidden Leaf Village often faced attacks from 2 or 3 other ninja villages, making it extremely challenging just to defend their territory. They simply didn't have the manpower to occupy additional lands. On the other hand, Hidden Leaf Village had consistently expressed a preference for peace and never initiated conflict. Although the Root organization, led by Denzo, had conducted several secret assassination missions against the leaders and Jinchuriki of smaller nations under the third Hokage's orders, these actions paled in comparison to the aggressive land grabs of the Sand, Rock, and Cloud villages. This series of behaviors earned Hidden Leaf Village goodwill from the small nations, effectively making them vassals of Hidden Leaf Village. In the original storyline, every time Naruto undertook missions related to these smaller nations, Hidden Leaf Village reaped enormous benefits. Naruto's connection with the Land of Waves, represented by the Great Naruto Bridge, strengthened ties between the Land of Waves and the Land of Fire, while his friendship with Gaara made Hidden Sand Village heavily reliant on Hidden Leaf Village, effectively transforming them from a non-vassal into a vassal. To completely undermine Hidden Leaf Village, one would have to sever its connections with these smaller nations, causing them to turn to Hidden Rain Village, ultimately allowing the Akatsuki to subtly expand their influence. Bringing his wandering thoughts back, Byakuya casually found a rock to sit on, waiting for the negotiations to continue. Just then, Konan approached him. Seeing Byakuya resting on the rock, she hurriedly asked, "Did you get hurt during the battle with the fourth Raikage?" Konan didn't particularly care about the future of the Akatsuki, she was more concerned about the companions beside her. Upon hearing her concern, Byakuya smiled, "Did you forget I'm a descendant of the Uzumaki clan? The fourth Raikage's punches may be hard, but they can't hurt me." Upon hearing this, Konan finally relaxed. She then said, "That's good to hear. I didn't expect you to really have the strength to confront the fourth Raikage directly. You've already left us far behind." Byakuya gave a mysterious smile and said to Conan, "This is all due to my hard work." "Conan-senpai, have you ever seen the sky of Hidden Rain Village at 4 in the morning?" Conan shook her head. "To prepare the materials for explosive tags, I often wake up at 3. Hearing this, Byakuya found himself at a loss for words. It seemed that the level of competitiveness within Hidden Rain Village was quite impressive. As the negotiations continued, several shinobis gradually joined the discussions in the area that had initially only been occupied by the 3 leaders. The crux of the negotiations centered around troop withdrawal, specifically whether the Cloud Ninjas would withdraw from the borders of the Fire Country or the Land of Hot Water. Jiraiya and the 4th Raikage had been embroiled in a heated argument over this very issue. Jiraiya insisted on the Cloud Ninjas withdrawing from the Land of Hot Water, while the 4th Raikage argued that they would only withdraw from the Land of Fire, claiming that the Land of Hot Water was none of Hidden Leaf Village's concern and that Hidden Leaf Village had no authority to interfere. Yahiko was unsure which side to lean toward and quietly listened to their argument. Just then, Fugaku Uchiha stepped forward and addressed the 4th Raikage. "Hidden Clouds Village must withdraw from the Land of Hot Water and compensate Hidden Leaf Village with sufficient war reparations." The 4th Raikage looked at Fugaku Uchiha and said, "You're the Uchiha clan leader? You have no right to speak to me. Send someone with Mengekyo Sharingan to talk." Upon hearing this, Fugaku clenched his fists. The 4th Raikage had the audacity to mention Shizue in front of him and suggested that he lacked the qualification to speak. When had the Uchiha ever faced such humiliation? He wanted to explode in anger and teach the 4th Raikage a lesson. But aside from Shizue, no one from the clan could match the 4th Raikage. If they intervened at this point, they would only become a joke. Thinking of this, Fugaku glanced at Shizue and said, "Shizue, why don't you step up and fight for the village's interests?" Shizue nodded and walked over to the 4th Raikage, saying, "Lord Raikage, I am Shizue Uchiha. What the clan leader just said is correct. The Cloud must withdraw from the Land of Hot Water and compensate Hidden Leaf Village for the losses." The 4th Raikage sized up Shizue and then said, "So you are Shizue. We can discuss troop withdrawal later, but I have a question for you." Shizue had already guessed what the 4th Raikage wanted to ask, but he still nodded and replied, "Please, Lord Raikage, ask away. If I know, I will certainly answer." The 4th Raikage stared intently at Shizue and said, "Shizue Uchiha, where did the Jinchuriki go? The war is coming to an end, and Hidden Leaf Village should return the Jinchuriki. About that." Shizue hesitated slightly. At that moment, Jiraiya spoke slowly, "Lord Raikage, Hidden Leaf Village also wishes to return the Jinchuriki, but the Jinchuriki died along with the tailed beast and left nothing behind." "Died?" The 4th Raikage's eyes burned with fury as he shouted, "How could the Jinchuriki die? How dare you in Hidden Leaf Village kill a Jinchuriki?" Jiraiya scoffed, "The Jinchuriki has rampaged through the Land of Fire for so long. So it's only natural that she was to be put down. If Hidden Clouds Village wants to recover the 2 tails, you might as well wait for it to be resurrected." The 4th Raikage's expression darkened significantly, but he restrained his anger and replied, "Since the Jinchuriki is dead, for safety reasons, the Cloud will not withdraw from the Land of Hot Water." Upon hearing this, Jiraiya was at a loss for words. While he was skilled in leading troops into battle and carrying out covert assassinations, he knew nothing about diplomatic and political matters. Realizing this, Jiraiya scanned the crowd, hoping to let Shikaku Nara negotiate on his behalf. However, after looking around, he couldn't find Shikaku's figure. He could only brace himself and continue to argue the withdrawal issue with the 4th Raikage. After listening to the conversation for over 10 minutes, Yahiko seemed to remember something and said, "Lord Jiraiya, Lord Raikage, I think we should consult the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village about the situation in the Land of Hot Water. Only he can decide on matters concerning the Land of Hot Water." Upon hearing this, both Jiraiya and the 4th Raikage were taken aback. When had Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village ever needed to heed the opinions of Hidden Hot Water Village? Hidden Leaf Village was an ally of Hidden Hot Water Village and naturally had the authority to make decisions for them. Moreover, Hidden Hot Water Village had no standing to negotiate with Hidden Clouds Village. Among all the ninja villages, only the 5 major villages held equal status. The remaining small and medium-sized villages had no voice at all. To be blunt, even ninja of the level of the Sannin could easily conquer a small nation and establish a new village with the permission of the daimyo. However, after exchanging glances, both Jiraiya and the 4th Raikage nodded in agreement with Yahiko's suggestion. In the midst of their heated debate, they could only consider the thoughts of Hidden Hot Water Village as leader. Normally, the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village wouldn't be taken seriously, but they had to take the opinions of Hidden Rain Village into account. Although Hidden Rain Village was merely a small nation, its military strength was only inferior to that of the 5 great ninja villages. Moreover, it had strong figures like Byakuya, Yahiko, and Conan on its side. In terms of influence in the ninja world, it was now comparable to the 5 great ninja villages. However, the leader of Hidden Hotwater Village was still in the land of hot water and would take some time to arrive, while this negotiation seemed to be approaching its conclusion. Chapter 199, Denzo's Suspicion. Hokage building. As the third Hokage stepped through the door of the Hokage's office, he felt a wave of unease wash over him as he glanced at the urgent report scroll sent by Jiraiya. The third Hokage had been closely monitoring the situation on the Cloud battlefield, where Jiraiya was stationed. If the battle against Hidden Cloud's village went poorly, Hidden Leaf Village wouldn't just lose an ally, the already signed peace agreements with the Hidden Stones Village and Hidden Mist Village could also be threatened, as they might start to feel restless. Furthermore, Hidden Sand Village and other small nations would begin to doubt Hidden Leaf Village's ability to protect them, which could lead to thoughts of severing their alliances. That was why he had dispatched Jiraiya as the frontline commander, along with the Inuzuka, Nara, Uchiha, and Hyuga clans to the battlefield. Combined, these ninja represented nearly half of Hidden Leaf Village's fighting strength, sufficient to annihilate several small ninja villages. However, the third Hokage had no confidence in their ability to defeat Hidden Cloud's village. Compared to the other 3 major ninja villages, Hidden Cloud's village had not lost many shinobi in the last Ninja World War. They still boasted top-tier combatants, including the 4th Raikage, the 8 Tails, and the 2 Tails Jinchuriki. With their village having lost a Jinchuriki, Jiraiya and the elite ninjas from Hidden Leaf Village might not even be a match for Hidden Cloud's village. Fortunately, in the last report, the 2 Tails Jinchuriki had already been defeated, leaving only the most troublesome ab combination. Perhaps they could only hope for new developments from Denzo and Orochimaru. With that thought, the third Hokage sighed lightly and opened the intelligence scroll in his hand. After scanning the contents of the scroll, the third Hokage's expression changed slightly. He rubbed his eyes to ensure he wasn't seeing things, then took a sharp breath. The report from Jiraiya was so outrageous that he thought it might have been fabricated. After reviewing the scroll again, the third Hokage took a deep breath and said to the Anbu ninjas around him, "Go and summon the advisory elders to see me. Tell them we need to convene an emergency meeting." Following the third Hokage's command, the advisory duo quickly arrived at the Hokage building, with Denzo, the leader of the Root organization, also appearing in the meeting room, leaning on his cane. They all looked at the third Hokage, their expressions questioning what urgent matter could require their attention. The third Hokage wasted no time and placed Jiraiya's report on the conference table. After passing it around, the advisory duo exhibited shocked expressions, while Denzo's demeanor fluctuated between concern and skepticism. After a moment, Hamura Midokado hesitantly asked, "Third Hokage, is the information on this scroll true? Has Shisui Uchiha really awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan? Did he defeat the 2 Tails Jinchuriki?" Koharu Utatane chimed in, "Saratobi, the information on this scroll is too exaggerated. Byakuya from Hidden Rain Village fought to a standstill with the 4th Raikage and even forced him to agree to negotiations. When did Hidden Rain Village acquire such strength?" The third Hokage looked helpless as he replied, "I have my doubts about this information too, but Jiraiya has no reason to deceive us about such a significant matter. I prefer to believe that the information is accurate." Upon hearing this, Hamura and Koharu exchanged glances and turned to Denzo, who was still perusing the report scroll, his expression increasingly grim. The temporary cessation of hostilities between Hidden Lee Village and Hidden Clouds Village, transitioning into negotiations, was certainly a good thing for the village, as it could prevent the already weakened village from suffering further losses. However, the current developments were entirely different from what he had anticipated. Denzo had originally intended to use the opportunity of war to weaken the clans within the village. He planned to wait until Jiraiya could no longer hold out and then rush to the front lines alongside Orochimaru to gain credit for becoming Hokage. But now, before he and Orochimaru could reach the front lines, the war was already nearing its end. Not only had the Uchiha clan, whom he expected to weaken, not been diminished, but they had also gained an extra pair of Mangekyo Sharingan and the credit for defeating the 2 Tails Jinchuriki. What was even more infuriating was that Byakuya had managed to contend with the 4th Raikage in such a short period, allowing Hidden Rain Village to shine in this battle. At this moment, Denzo could almost envision Byakuya's smug face, sending shivers down his spine. Pulling his thoughts back together, Denzo raised his head to look at the third Hokage and slowly said, "Hiruzen, while the cessation of hostilities at the front is indeed a good thing, it doesn't mean we can let our guard down." Upon hearing this, the advisory duo perked up their ears. As the fence-sitters among Hidden Leaf Village's higher-ups, they had never expressed opinions on major issues and had always adhered to the path of moderation. Because of this, they had secured their positions as advisory elders and had never faced any targeting from others. After a brief pause, Denzo continued, according to the contents of the report, the reason for the ceasefire between our village and Hidden Cloud's village is not due to our or their willingness but rather the coercion of Hidden Rain Village. While this is certainly a positive development, Hidden Rain Village must have some ulterior motives for doing so. Ulterior motives? Hearing this, Hiruzen furrowed his brow and responded, the current leader of Hidden Rain Village is Jiraiya's student, who has shown a very positive attitude towards us. I've met Byakuya once and I think he is a youth embodying the will of fire. Under their leadership, Hidden Rain Village shouldn't have any ulterior motives. Denzo sneered and retorted, you've all been deceived by Byakuya's appearance since he is a person filled with darkness within. I have never encountered a shinobi darker than him. Moreover, regardless of whether Hidden Rain Village has ulterior motives, they already possess the strength to threaten our village. At this, the third Hokage and the others fell into contemplation. Although Hidden Rain Village had not taken any threatening actions against Hidden Leaf Village, they indeed had the capability to do so. On this point, Denzo was quite right. Seeing that the three acknowledged his thoughts, a smile crept onto Denzo's face as he continued, to prevent Hidden Rain Village from posing a threat to our village in the future, I believe it's necessary to increase the budgets of various departments. The Anbu and research divisions need funding for upgrades. When funding was mentioned, Koharu, responsible for logistics and management, frowned and said, the feudal lords are already very dissatisfied with the current military expenditures. If we reach a time of peace, the budget will only be cut, not increased. The third Hokage nodded, saying, the villagers are already under a lot of pressure, we cannot increase the budget. After being rejected by the third Hokage and Koharu, Denzo's expression darkened. He quickly stated, we can discuss the budget later, but we must be on guard against Hidden Rain Village and Byakuya. They will inevitably take action against our village. The third Hokage said impatiently, I've said it before, Byakuya and Hidden Rain Village are friends of Hidden Leaf Village. Denzo, I know you've troubled the Akatsuki in Hidden Rain Village, but the relationship between the Rain and Hidden Leaf Village will not change because of your personal issues. Denzo snorted coldly, ultimately not bringing up Byakuya again. He shifted the topic, saying, we can temporarily overlook the issue with Byakuya, but Shizue Uchiha awakening the Mangekyo Sharingan is certainly an internal matter for our village. The Uchiha clan has always coveted the position of Hokage, acquiring the Mangekyo will likely make them even more arrogant. And as for the events of the Night of the Nine Tails, those remain unclear even now. Chapter 200, Results of the Wood-Style Experiment. When Byakuya and Hidden Rain Village were mentioned, the third Hokage didn't want to consider the threat posed by Hidden Rain Village. No matter how powerful the upper echelons of Hidden Rain Village might be, their growth would be constrained by the number of ninjas and geographical limitations, preventing them from developing into a village on the level of the Rock or Cloud villages. Even if they achieved a status comparable to one of the 5 great shinobi countries, it could relieve some pressure from Hidden Leaf Village coming from the north. However, the Uchiha clan was entirely different. Although the Uchiha were allies within the village, they were also the most unstable factor among all the clans. Back during the time of the first Hokage, Madara Uchiha had defected from the village and even attacked Hidden Leaf Village with the Nine Tails. During the second Hokage Tobirama's time, there were also radical Uchiha like Shin Uchiha, who, dissatisfied with his master's policies, secretly plotted a coup d'état. Though this coup had been suppressed before it could begin, it demonstrated the Uchiha's ambition. Now, decades later, it was impossible for the third Hokage to believe that the Uchiha had lost such thoughts. Moreover, many questions remained regarding the events of the Night of the Nine Tails. Was the identity of Masked Man truly Uchiha? Did the Uchiha collaborate with the Masked Man against Minato? Or was the Masked Man possibly just Shizue in disguise? If Shizue had indeed awakened the Mangekyo during that time, he should have competed for the position of fourth Hokage. The third Hokage shook his head. He tried hard not to think about the Uchiha's threat, yet it was undeniable that they were indeed a destabilizing factor for the village, one that could explode at any moment. However, to act against the Uchiha without any evidence would not only go against the will of fire, but the other clans in the village would also feel a pressing threat and become estranged from the Hokage's office. With these thoughts, the third Hokage turned to Denzo and said slowly, Denzo, I know you have always held a bias against the Uchiha, but right now they are contributors to the village. We cannot doubt them based on some baseless claims. Also, I heard that your root division has recently been actively recruiting but hasn't achieved sufficient results. Upon hearing this, Denzo's expression instantly became serious, and he shifted the topic, saying, Hiruzen, don't forget what our teacher Tobirama once said, the Uchiha are a clan born of evil. The third Hokage's expression changed slightly, and soon the two began to argue. Seeing this, Koharu and Hamura were no strangers to this scene. Every time the third Hokage and Denzo got into a dispute, Hiruzen would always use his position as Hokage to overshadow Denzo. Denzo, on the other hand, would reference their shared teacher, Tobirama, using his words to counter Hiruzen, but the deceased Hokage could not compete with the current Hokage. Such disputes would often end in Denzo's defeat. A few minutes later, Denzo, with a dark expression, walked toward the door. As he opened it, he said, "Hiruzen, if you continue to indulge the Uchiha, you will regret it one day." Without hesitation, the third Hokage replied, "But right now, I am the Hokage." With a heavy slam, the door closed behind Denzo as he left the Hokage building, his expression gloomy and uncertain. He knew that every time he attended high-level meetings, the third Hokage would surely refute his opinions. But for the sake of Hidden Leaf Village, and to become Hokage, he still came to the Hokage building without hesitation. Though it seemed like Hiruzen had rebutted him at every turn, he had definitely kept Denzo's words in mind. This was the tacit understanding they had developed over decades, as well as their original agreement. He would bear the village's dark side, allowing Hiruzen to bask in the light. However, it felt excessive that Hiruzen had enjoyed a life in the sunlight for decades and had already retired from the Hokage position. Now, taking advantage of the fourth Hokage's death to continue suppressing him and maintain control over the Hokage position seemed too unfair. Tsunade and Jiraiya were unwilling to become Hokage, which prevented him and Orochimaru from seizing that position. Did he want to remain in the position of Hokage, waiting for his son, the Anbu minister Sarutobi Shinji, to grow up, allowing the Sarutobi clan to become the next Hokage? With this thought in mind, Denzo, who had been walking along the shadows of the wall, glanced toward the sliver of light just a few steps away. He longed to become Hokage, but the power he had accumulated was still insufficient, and his aging body had significantly weakened his strength. Unless the wood-style experiment yielded results, all his efforts would be in vain. Half an hour later, Denzo arrived at the root laboratory located outside the village. As he prepared to enter the lab to inquire about the experiment from Orochimaru, he encountered him at the exit. Orochimaru wore a gloomy expression. Upon seeing Denzo, he shook his head and said, "Denzo, the results of the wood-style experiment deviated from our expectations. This time, the experiment failed." Hearing this, Denzo's previously relaxed expression darkened again. "Orochimaru, what do you mean by that? We invested so much money and manpower into the wood-style experiment. Why did it fail? It's normal for experiments to fail." "I can't do anything about it," Orochimaru replied, his tone flat. Denzo locked eyes with Orochimaru and continued, "This isn't some excuse to embezzle funds, is it? The root will not provide any more funding for the wood-style experiment." Without a trace of emotion, Orochimaru said, "Then do as you please, Lord Denzo. I have no interest in the wood-style experiment anymore. The materials regarding the experiment are all inside. If you wish to continue researching wood-style, go ahead." After saying this, Orochimaru left without looking back, as he had other experiments to attend to. This large-scale experiment made him realize that the power of wood-style was uncontrollable. Unless a chosen one emerged, no one could survive the backlash from Hashirama's cells. Watching Orochimaru walk away, Denzo felt an unwillingness well up inside him as he entered the laboratory to collect the experimental data. Orochimaru was still young, only in his 40s. He could afford to abandon the wood-style experiment, but Denzo couldn't. He needed to obtain the first Hokage's power. As he delved deeper into the laboratory, Denzo looked at the experimental subjects floating in glass containers. These subjects had either lost their life force or turned into twisted wood-style monsters, some peaceful and some grotesque, all trapped within their glass prisons. Suddenly, Denzo heard a faint sound of crying and frowned. Following the sound, he searched through the glass containers and in an inconspicuous corner, he discovered a subject that was still alive. Although the subject had been removed from the glass container, they were still breathing. Denzo picked up the subject, feeling the abundant yang release chakra within them. A smile crept onto Denzo's face. Orochimaru's wood-style plan had not failed, there was still a living subject, and this outcome was unknown to Orochimaru. This was a tremendous opportunity for Denzo. Now, he could secretly cultivate the subject while gradually pushing Orochimaru out of the power center. Chapter 201, Tenzo and Anko tuning out his wandering thoughts. Denzo walked toward the wood-style experimental subject, who was just a child, appearing only 7 or 8 years old. Sensing Denzo's approach, the child suddenly opened his eyes and looked at him. "Who are you, old man?" Denzo instinctively took a half step back and then slowly replied, "I am Denzo, leader of Hidden Leaf Village's root." "And you, little one, who are you? What's your name?" The child hesitated, trying hard to recall his past, but the growing pain in his head made him give up. Shaking his head in confusion, he said, I don't know who I am either. I seem to have forgotten everything from before, but I had a nightmare where I was submerged in water, and there were lots of people in white clothes touching me." As he said this, the child looked around and saw the shattered glass containers, freezing in place. Perhaps what he experienced wasn't a nightmare, but a grim reality. Noticing the child's expression, Denzo sighed softly. He extended his hand toward the child and said, "I roughly understand what you've been through. Well then, would you like to accept my care, leave this place, and become a member of Root?" The child hesitated but, having no other choice, gently nodded. Seeing him agree, Denzo smiled and patted the boy's head, slowly saying, "Since you've forgotten your past and have no name, I will give you one. From today, you shall be called Tenzo." Tenzo. Tenzo repeated his new name several times, a faint smile appearing on his face. "I finally have a name. My name is Denzo." Noticing Tenzo's reaction, a subtle smile also appeared on Denzo's face. As the leader of Root, Denzo knew well how important it was to give an orphan a name. If he cultivated Tenzo carefully, he could gain a subordinate with at least the strength of an elite Jonin in the future. A few minutes later, Denzo left the Root lab with Tenzo. After returning to the Root base, he immediately placed the cursed tongue eradication seal on Tenzo and ordered his subordinates to destroy all Wood-style experiment data and anything linking him to it. He also began preparing to impeach Orochimaru. The grounds for impeachment were simple, just reporting that Orochimaru had conducted experiments on villagers was enough. After all, once Orochimaru got into research mode, he didn't care whether his subjects were allies or not. As long as he was interested in the experiment, he would even experiment on his comrades. Denzo didn't mind Orochimaru's behavior. In his view, contributing to Hidden Leaf Village was an honor for these experimental subjects. But Sarutobi Hiruzen, that hypocritical Hokage, was different. He cared about such things. Although he knew about the darkness in the shadows, he always presented a dignified and noble image. As Denzo gathered evidence and prepared to spread rumors unfavorable to Orochimaru, another pair of eyes watched him from the shadows. It was none other than Orochimaru, the main person in charge of the Wood-style project. After leaving the Root lab, he had witnessed Denzo taking Tenzo under his wing. He was surprised that he had overlooked such a survivor. However, he chose not to confront Denzo to claim Tenzo but instead decided to bide his time in the shadows. First, because he believed his experiments couldn't have failed. In the previous match, it was impossible for any child to adapt to the cells of Hashirama. Tenzo's survival was just an accident. And even if Tenzo had survived, it didn't guarantee he would awaken the Wood-style Kekkai Genkai. Everything was still uncertain. As long as Orochimaru could contact Tenzo later, he could easily figure out the truth from Tenzo's blood. Secondly, Orochimaru wanted to see what Denzo was planning. It became clear that Denzo was secretly collecting evidence of his human experiments. Denzo's motives were obvious. He wanted to ruin the trust between Orochimaru and Hiruzen, thereby disqualifying him from being a candidate for the 5th Hokage. But Denzo seemed to have forgotten that they were collaborators. Even if Orochimaru lost his chance to become Hokage, Denzo wouldn't become Hokage either. And after all these years, Denzo still didn't realize that Hiruzen would never let him become Hokage. At this thought, Orochimaru couldn't help but marvel at Denzo's foolishness. Shaking off these distracting thoughts, Orochimaru turned and headed toward his base, vanishing into the darkness. Even though he had discovered Denzo collecting evidence against him, Orochimaru didn't plan to stop him. After all, he had indeed conducted those experiments. He had even attacked Village Jonin to obtain experimental materials. In his quest to push the limits of ninjutsu and achieve immortality, Orochimaru had long stopped caring about the rules of the ninja world. Even if Denzo exposed everything he had done and caused the village's Jonin to fear him, he remained unafraid. After all, he no longer had any attachment to the Hidden Leaf Village. If Denzo and Hiruzen decided to target him, it would simply be the right time for him to leave this dull village and explore the greater ninja world. There were plenty of places in the ninja world outside Hidden Leaf Village where he could thrive. Not long after, Orochimaru arrived at his secret base. Upon seeing him, his subordinates straightened up and said, "Lord Orochimaru, you're finally here. Anko has been calling for you." "Anko wants to see me?" Orochimaru's expression changed slightly as Anko's image appeared in his mind. Anko was a girl of 12 or 13, whose personality was more like a boy's than a girl's. She was currently his only disciple, though her antics often gave him headaches. When he eventually defected from Hidden Leaf Village, he would surely take some loyal followers with him. But he hadn't yet decided whether to take Anko with him, unsure if he should leave her behind as a pawn or bring her along to wander the ninja world. When he saw Anko, she was holding a skewer of dango, smiling. "Orochimaru-sensei, I've been thinking about entering the Chunin exam soon. Can you give me special training?" "Forget about special training. I have other things to take care of. Orochimaru shook his head, having already made up his mind. A naive ninja like Anko was no longer suitable to remain his subordinate. It would be better for her to stay in the leaf and immerse herself in the will of fire. Unaware of Orochimaru's thoughts, Anko, feeling a bit disappointed, nodded. Since you're busy, I'll come back later. I was hoping to spread the dango style after all. Chapter 202, Orochimaru's defection 3 days later, at the Hokage building. The third Hokage pulled out a box of cigarettes from his pocket, took one out, lit it, and inhaled deeply, exhaling a ring of smoke. Soon, he frowned. This box of cigarettes was a gift from his eldest son, Shinosuke, who claimed it tasted better and was healthier than his traditional pipe. But he still wasn't used to these modern products and missed the pipe that had been with him for decades. After a moment of thought, the third Hokage took out his pipe from the drawer. Tearing open the cigarette, he placed the tobacco inside the pipe, lit it, and inhaled deeply through the pipe's mouthpiece, showing a satisfied smile. Indeed, the old ways suited him better. There was no need to force himself to embrace the new era. After settling himself, the third Hokage turned his gaze toward the blank scroll on his desk. He planned to hand it to Jiraiya's summoning beast today so that Jiraiya could negotiate with the fourth Raikage on the front lines. At that moment, the door to his office was pushed open from the outside, and Denzo appeared before him. The third Hokage frowned, visibly displeased at the sight of Denzo. Just as the third Hokage was about to speak, he noticed the group of Jonin standing behind Denzo, and his expression became grave. Could it be that Denzo was dissatisfied with his position as leader of the Root organization and was using this opportunity, while most of the village's forces were out, to stage a coup? The thought crossed the third Hokage's mind, but even he found it ridiculous. Denzo should know that he wasn't a match for him. Even if he somehow managed to defeat the third Hokage, he could never become the village's Hokage. Taking a deep breath, the third Hokage looked at Denzo and asked calmly, "Denzo, what's brought you here this time?" With a grim face, Denzo replied, "Third Hokage, last night, Orochimaru attacked the Root base, stole some of our records, and seriously injured my guard, Ryuma." "What did you say? Orochimaru attacked the Root?" The third Hokage doubted his own ears, staring suspiciously at Denzo. Since being assigned to work in the Root, Orochimaru and Denzo had always had a good relationship, with Orochimaru being a high-ranking member of the Root. Moreover, during the selection process for the fourth Hokage, Denzo had supported Orochimaru as a candidate. Given this relationship, Orochimaru attacking the Root base seemed highly improbable. However, Denzo didn't appear to be lying, and such an event could be easily verified by simply summoning Orochimaru to confront the allegations. Sensing the third Hokage's doubt, Denzo quickly added, "Orochimaru did attack the Root. Besides that, he also attacked several shinobi in the village, including members of the Uchiha and Hyuga clans." At that moment, the other Jonin stepped forward and shared their experiences of being attacked by Orochimaru. "Third Hokage, Denzo-sama is telling the truth. Orochimaru attacked us, though he didn't kill us, only took some of our blood. Could Orochimaru be using our blood for his experiments? I've heard Orochimaru is fond of human experimentation. I never thought he'd target his fellow villagers. Third Hokage, you must bring justice to this matter." As the Jonin reported their encounters, the third Hokage's expression darkened. He wasn't sure if Denzo was conspiring with the other Jonin to deceive him or if Orochimaru had truly betrayed the village. If the accusations were true, how could he face his once prized student? Glaring at Denzo, the third Hokage addressed the Jonin, "You are dismissed for now. I need some time to think. I will give you an answer within 3 days." Hearing this, the Jonin, along with Denzo, left the office. After leaving the Hokage building, the Jonin cautiously asked Denzo, "Denzo-sama, will the third Hokage really deal with Orochimaru?" Denzo shook his head grimly and replied, "I don't know either. We'll just have to wait and see." Unlike his previous deceptions, this time Denzo was genuinely angry. Orochimaru had indeed attacked the Root, even targeting Tenzo, whom Denzo had carefully protected. Though Denzo had long planned to use Orochimaru as a stepping stone, he hadn't expected Orochimaru to strike first, suggesting that Orochimaru had no desire to stay in the village any longer. A few hours later, guided by a Hyuga ninja, the third Hokage led an ambush squad to a hidden laboratory in the Forest of Death. After forcibly breaking down the lab's door, the third Hokage found Orochimaru, along with numerous experimental subjects still encased in glass tubes, yet to be dealt with. Judging by the setup, the lab was being used for wood-style experiments. Seeing this, the third Hokage clenched his teeth, his heart heavy with grief. He couldn't believe that his most treasured student had been conducting secret human experiments, violating the very rules he had set. Taking a deep breath, The third Hokage's voice trembled as he spoke. Orochimaru, did you do all of this? Considering your contributions to the village, if you abandon these experiments, I will spare your life and let you remain a jonin in the village. At this, Orochimaru turned to the third Hokage, shook his head, and said, I'm sorry, old man, but I can't agree to that. Without human experiments to explore the limits of ninjutsu, my life would be meaningless. The third Hokage asked, is the pursuit of the limits of ninjutsu more important than the will of fire? Ever since I lost the election for the fourth Hokage, I've lost interest in the village, my comrades, and the will of fire. Orochimaru first chuckled, then continued in a sinister tone, as for the village, is it truly the village of the leaf, or just her village? At least during Dobirama-sama's time, these human experiments were never forbidden. Hearing Orochimaru mention the second Hokage, the third Hokage's expression changed slightly. He sighed and said, Dobirama-sensei never harmed the village's ninjas. Please, don't persist in this folly. I don't want to have to deal with you myself. Orochimaru smirked, then assumed a fighting stance and said, Third Hokage, the narrow sky of Hidden Leaf Village can no longer contain my dreams. Before I leave, let me experience your strength one more time. Before the words had even left his mouth, Orochimaru raised his sleeve and shouted, Ninja art, hidden shadow snake hands. The third Hokage sighed inwardly, forming hand seals to summon Inma, the Monkey King. In an instant, Inma transformed into the adamantine staff and fell into the third Hokage's hands. Without hesitation, the third Hokage lunged at Orochimaru's position. Chapter 203, Orochimaru's Defection, Part 2, Orochimaru's strength was not to be underestimated. During the Third Great Ninja War, he had assassinated the Eight Tails Jinchuriki, B, and led Hidden Leaf Village's forces to victory against Hidden Sand Village in the Battle of Kikyo Pass, making him one of the most powerful figures in the ninja world. But even with such strength, he was gradually falling behind in the seamless staff techniques of the third Hokage. Looking at the still vigorous third Hokage, Orochimaru's eyes were filled with dread. He had known his teacher was strong, but he hadn't expected him to be this powerful. Without any preparation, he couldn't possibly defeat the third Hokage. Using the Orochi substitution jutsu to evade a heavy blow, Orochimaru retreated several dozen meters. His hands formed seals and slammed into the ground, causing the once soft grass to transform into hundreds of poisonous snakes that surged toward the third Hokage. The third Hokage lightly tapped his toes and leapt into the air. His chest expanded as he growled, Fire style, Dance of Flaming Dragons. In an instant, the ground turned into a sea of flames, completely engulfing the swarm of poisonous snakes. Seeing this, beads of sweat appeared on Orochimaru's forehead. He hadn't left Hidden Leaf Village immediately because he wanted to test his teacher's strength, but now the situation was spiraling out of control. If he didn't use his full strength, he might really die here. As for surrendering to the third Hokage, the thought crossed Orochimaru's mind, but his heart no longer belonged to Hidden Leaf Village. He would leave eventually, one day. Even if he surrendered now to save his life, he would be imprisoned in the village, losing his freedom. Rather than sacrificing his freedom to stay in a dull village like Hidden Leaf Village, he decided it was better to take the risk and defeat the third Hokage. He was also interested in studying the Sarutobi clan's bloodline. Closing in on the third Hokage, Orochimaru transformed his body into a giant snake and lunged. The third Hokage stood his ground without dodging, and said calmly, Orochimaru, do you really have no intention of staying in the village? Orochimaru didn't answer. He had already circled behind the third Hokage. All he needed was to inject his venom into the Hokage's body, and he would win this battle. However, just as Orochimaru was about to attack, a flash of white light burst forth on the snake's head, detonating directly on Orochimaru's body. As the dust settled, a bloody Orochimaru slithered into the forest. He didn't dare stay any longer. At some point, the third Hokage had placed several explosive tags on Orochimaru and disrupted his sensory abilities with Genjutsu. It was only after realizing this that Orochimaru understood the gap between him and his teacher. Not only was the third Hokage significantly stronger than him, but his battle experience was also far superior. If the third Hokage hadn't held back, Orochimaru might have already died. Watching Orochimaru retreat, the third Hokage stopped and chose not to pursue. The battle had taken a great toll on him. It had been a long time since he had fought so fiercely. If he recklessly chased after Orochimaru, there was a chance he might get countered and killed. After calming his breathing, the third Hokage sighed in relief. I didn't expect Orochimaru to have grown this strong. If I hadn't prepared in advance, I might not have been his match. Inma, who was by his side, said flatly, Hiruzen, wasn't it because you were holding back? If you hadn't been aiming to capture him alive, You would have had many chances to kill him. Hearing this, the third Hokage fell silent. Inma was right, he had indeed held back during the fight. Seeing through Hiruzen's thoughts, Inma sighed lightly. I know you can't bring yourself to kill your student, but old friend, I have a feeling that one day you'll regret your actions today. The third Hokage responded with a complex expression, maybe. But I really couldn't do it. Letting Orochimaru leave Hidden Leaf Village might be for the best. After speaking, the third Hokage looked at Enma, who remained silent. Though Enma was the third Hokage's summoned beast, he had also watched Orochimaru and the others grow up. He understood the Hokage's feelings and didn't want to see Orochimaru's blood on his hands. A few minutes later, Denzo and several Hidden Leaf Village Jonin finally arrived. Seeing the devastated land, they all looked toward the third Hokage. Judging by the scene, it seemed like the third Hokage had won the battle. But what about Orochimaru? The third Hokage sighed deeply and said with a complicated expression, just now, Orochimaru wounded me and defected. The Jonin were shocked, disbelief written on their faces. With the border conflict having just ceased and peace talks in a crucial phase, one of the Sannin, Orochimaru, had wounded the third Hokage and defected. This was not good news for Hidden Leaf Village. At that moment, the third Hokage, full of regret, declared, due to the danger posed by Orochimaru, I will designate him as an S-rank missing nin. Every Hidden Leaf Village ninja will have the duty to capture him. Yes, Lord Hokage. The Jonin all nodded in agreement, but in their hearts, they knew capturing Orochimaru wouldn't be easy. Was there anyone other than the five Kage who could even contend with him? Denzo glared at the third Hokage, committing the event to memory. He didn't believe that the third Hokage lacked the ability to kill Orochimaru. He must have let him go out of sentimentality. The third Hokage wasn't just indecisive, he was also too soft on the ninja around him. If it were him, he would never have let Orochimaru go. However, just because the third Hokage wouldn't act didn't mean Denzo wouldn't. He needed to capture or even eliminate Orochimaru. Orochimaru knew too many of his secrets and was an extremely unstable factor. Meanwhile, after running for over 10 kilometers, Orochimaru slithered into a cave and began healing his injuries. The wounds on his body were severe, and it would take at least a month to recover. During that month, he would have to deal with Hidden Leaf Village's pursuit. Although his teacher had held back during their fight, that didn't mean the subsequent chase would be lenient. His former partner, Denzo, would also undoubtedly try to hunt him down. During this month, he could only muster the strength of an average Jonin, making it difficult to shake off Hidden Leaf Village's pursuit. Perhaps, he would have to head to Rechi Cave for a while. But Rechi Cave was different from the other two Great Sage regions. It was a world where only the strong survived, with snakes devouring one another. Losers would become the victor's prey. Thinking this over, Orochimaru abandoned the idea of going to Rechi Cave and instead turned his gaze northward, toward Hidden Rain Village. Chapter 204, Intelligence in the Land of Hot Water. Due to a strong recommendation from Hidden Rain Village, the location for the peace talks between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village was officially set in Hidden Hot Water Village. The Land of Hot Water, where Hidden Hot Water Village is located, is a country extremely rich in natural resources. However, despite these favorable conditions, the strength of its ninja is far below the average for the ninja world, even weaker than Hidden Grass Village. After arriving here, Yahiko and Conan seemed to understand why Hidden Clouds Village wanted to invade the Land of Hot Water. The country, though weak, occupied such a rich land. If they were in Hidden Clouds Village's position, they might also be tempted to seize it. Seeing Yahiko and Conan's thoughts, Byakuya smiled and said, Yahiko, Conan, are you interested in the Land of Hot Water? If you really want it, we could always consider claiming this land. Yahiko gave Byakuya a wary look and shook his head. Byakuya, we're here to mediate between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village, not to invade the Land of Hot Water. Byakuya, with a meaningful tone, said, perhaps Hidden Hot Water Village needs our protection. Hidden Rain Village lacks resources, while Hidden Hot Water Village lacks military strength. Wouldn't it be a perfect match? Hearing this, Yahiko and Conan fell into deep thought, considering the feasibility of Byakuya's suggestion. After years of development, Hidden Rain Village had basically completed its internal construction, and its chakra system had reached an early stage of industrialization, producing many goods and products. If they could bring the Land of Hot Water under their influence, they would have both raw materials and a market. But the current issue was that the Land of Hot Water wasn't actually governed by Hidden Hot Water Village. The current leader of Hidden Hot Water Village only had the strength of an elite Jonin, which made him a top figure in smaller villages, but not much in the eyes of the 5 great ninja villages. Even a random elite Jonin from one of the 5 great villages could throw Hidden Hot Water Village into chaos. In reality, the control of Hidden Hot Water Village had always been in Hidden Leaf Village's hands, which was why when Hidden Clouds Village invaded the Land of Hot Water, Hidden Leaf Village had to retaliate. And if Hidden Rain Village were to ally with Hidden Hot Water Village, or even take control of the Land of Hot Water, it would certainly draw the attention of both Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village, putting Hidden Rain Village under pressure from both sides. Seeing Yahiko and Conan lost in thought, Byakuya chuckled and said, I was just offering a suggestion. The Akatsuki isn't ready to take on Hidden Hot Water Village just yet. After all, we haven't even conquered Hidden Grass Village, Hidden Waterfall Village, or the Land of Rice Fields. Hearing that Byakuya was only joking, Yahiko sighed in relief. However, when he heard that Byakuya had ambitions toward the smaller nations surrounding Hidden Rain Village, he was taken aback. Hidden Grass Village and the Land of Rice Fields were one thing. There had always been conflict between Hidden Grass Village and Hidden Rain Village, and the Land of Rice Fields didn't even have a ninja village. But Hidden Waterfall Village's strength was one of the best among the smaller ninja villages. Although its ninjas weren't often seen, Hidden Waterfall Village had the Jinchuriki of the Seven Tails. After taking a deep breath, Yahiko said, Byakuya, the Akatsuki is a peace-loving organization. You can't keep targeting the surrounding ninja villages for attack. They don't pose a threat to us anymore. Yahiko, I've always loved peace. As long as they don't provoke the organization, I certainly won't retaliate. But if they ask for help, we can't just turn down their request, can we? After a brief pause, Byakuya continued, Yahiko, I've already arranged a meeting between you and the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village. After talking with him, you might change your mind. Don't forget, the Akatsuki was born because of the wars between the major powers. Should we now avoid Hidden Hot Water Village just because we're afraid of offending Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village? Should we stop listening to their voices? Yahiko was visibly shaken. After pondering for a moment, he nodded. He had many thoughts but, in the end, didn't reject Byakuya's arrangement. Byakuya was right, he had been too concerned about his relationship with Jiraiya-sensei, forgetting the reason for the Akatsuki's existence. It was true that Jiraiya-sensei had been a mentor to Yahiko, Conan, and Nagato, imparting his knowledge and ideas about peace. However, Jiraiya's concept of peace was framed from Hidden Leaf Village's perspective, always prioritizing Hidden Leaf Village's interests. When Jiraiya took them in, Hidden Leaf Village had been actively attacking Hidden Rain Village. After successfully convincing Yahiko to meet with the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village, Byakuya's lips curled into a faint smile. His motivations were not so altruistic. Everything he did was aimed at increasing his own strength to face the future crisis of the ninja world. If he could forge an alliance with Hidden Hot Water Village, or even bring them under his control, the Akatsuki would gain a significant boost in power. With that, Byakuya's own strength could surpass the average Kage level, reaching the initial stages of a Super Kage. Returning to his room, Byakuya suddenly sensed something. He formed a hand seal and glanced at the floor. With a puff of white smoke, a scroll appeared on the ground. Byakuya picked it up, recognizing it as something sent by Kabuto Yakushi, containing a brief piece of intelligence. Orochimaru had defected from Hidden Leaf Village and was now an S-rank missing nin, wanted by Hidden Leaf Village. After reading the scroll, Byakuya burned it and tossed the ashes into the pond, watching as they floated and eventually sank into the water. He wasn't particularly surprised by Orochimaru's defection. Orochimaru, more of a mad scientist than even the second Hokage, could never have stayed in Hidden Leaf Village for long. First, Orochimaru liked experimenting on his comrades, which violated the will of fire. Second, he had no qualms about breaking taboos and was obsessed with researching forbidden jutsu. The only surprising thing for Byakuya was that Orochimaru's defection had happened earlier than expected, likely due to Byakuya's own interference, which had disrupted the Akatsuki's future. But even with changes in the timeline, this wasn't a big issue for him. What intrigued him more was where Orochimaru had fled. If he could recruit Orochimaru into the Akatsuki, Byakuya wondered what kind of reward such a move would bring him. For now, he planned to keep an eye on the black market, hoping to catch wind of Orochimaru's whereabouts. He also remembered that the Land of Rice Fields, near Hidden Rain Village, would later become the location where Orochimaru established the Hidden Sound Village after defecting from the Akatsuki. Though Orochimaru had yet to join the Akatsuki in this altered timeline, it wouldn't be surprising if he had already taken an interest in the Land of Rice Fields. Pulling his thoughts back to the present, Byakuya began to ponder how to respond to Kabuto. While it was crucial to use the peace talks between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village to elevate Hidden Rain Village's position, cultivating Kabuto was also an important task. Kabuto, a ninja who lacked love and care, could easily be swayed to follow Byakuya with just a little attention and periodic displays of concern. That would ensure Kabuto's loyalty. Chapter 205, Three-Party Talks. On the night before the official talks, Jiraiya received a message from the Hokage building. After carefully reading the contents of the letter, Jiraiya's expression became extremely serious. He slammed his hand hard on the table, leaving a clear palm print on its surface. A few days earlier, he had reported intelligence to the village, seeking support from them. Unexpectedly, during these few days, a major event occurred in the village. His close friend, Orochimaru, one of the legendary Sannin, attacked fellow comrades in the village and chose to defect. Jiraiya couldn't understand why Orochimaru would attack his comrades or why he chose to flee. If he weren't the current commander of the Hidden Clouds village front line, he would have abandoned his responsibility to search for Orochimaru and question him about why he left the village. Shikaku and others noticed the expression on Jiraiya's face, looking puzzled. Jiraiya sighed lightly and then said, "The third Hokage sent word, they cannot send any more reinforcements to the front line because Orochimaru has left the village." Orochimaru left the village? The Hidden Leaf village ninjas present were slightly stunned, and they quickly grasped what Jiraiya meant. Orochimaru's departure was likely a euphemism, and the reality was probably that Orochimaru had defected. But why would Orochimaru leave the village? Seeing the confusion on their faces, Jiraiya handed them the letter. After passing it around, their expressions gradually became serious. There were two main reasons for Orochimaru's defection. One was that he attacked comrades in the village and stole their blood, and the second was conducting secret wood-style experiments, violating the village's laws. In any case, Orochimaru had now become a rogue ninja and was wanted by the village. After learning this, Shikaku and the others became visibly more worried, deeply concerned about the future of the village. Orochimaru wasn't just a powerful ninja, he was one of the Sannin, with at least dozens of ninjas under his command, representing a force no less significant than any major ninja clan. After Orochimaru's defection, even if these ninjas didn't follow him, they would be watched and interrogated due to their association with him, further depleting the already scarce strength of the village. Where some were worried, others were pleased. Orochimaru's defection was a terrible event for Jiraiya and the Inoshikacho trio, but for the Uchiha clan, it was good news. Orochimaru's defection meant the Hokage faction's power had been further weakened. With this shift in the balance of power, the strength of the Uchiha clan had come very close to that of the Hokage faction, significantly increasing the chance of Uchiha becoming the next Hokage. Despite feeling ecstatic inside, Fugaku still wore a concerned expression and said, "Jiraiya-sama, what should we do next?" Jiraiya looked at Fugaku helplessly and said, "We can only take one step at a time. If we can't gain more benefits, we must at least ensure peace with Hidden Clouds village." Hearing Jiraiya sigh, the Hidden Leaf village ninjas present fell silent. They knew Jiraiya was speaking the truth. With Orochimaru's defection, Hidden Leaf village really didn't have much leverage left to fight for the Land of Hot Water's interests. If not for Hidden Rain village's forced intervention, Hidden Leaf village might even lose this war. The next morning, the three-party talks between Hidden Leaf village, Hidden Clouds village, and Hidden Rain village were held in the meeting room of Hidden Sun village. As the host of the talks, the leader of Hidden Sun village sat in the main seat, waiting for the representatives of each side to arrive and discuss how to handle the future of the Land of Hot Water. At this thought, the leader of Hidden Sun village felt a sense of sadness. He was the leader of the village, and the meeting would determine the fate of his nation, yet the main players in this discussion were not him, but Hidden Leaf village and Hidden Clouds village. This was the sorrow of a small country. In times of peace, it could enjoy prosperity and development, but in times of war, it could only serve as a chessboard for the major ninja villages. With a light sigh, Hidden Sun village leader glanced at the area reserved for Hidden Rain village, his eyes filled with a hint of envy. Hidden Rain village was also a small village, outside of the 5 great ninja villages. In terms of land size and economy, Hidden Rain village was not as well off as Hidden Sun village, yet it had the strength to contend with the major villages. Not long ago, it had even forcibly halted the war between Hidden Leaf village and Hidden Clouds village. If only Hidden Sun village had that kind of power. Before long, representatives from Hidden Leaf village, Hidden Clouds village, and Hidden Rain village appeared outside the conference room. There was no change in the Hidden Clouds village delegation. It was still led by the 4th Raikage, followed by Killer Bee, Darui, and other elite Jonin of Hidden Clouds village. Hidden Leaf village's delegation was also still led by Jiraiya, accompanied by Fugaku, Hizashi, and others. Upon seeing this, the 4th Raikage frowned and addressed Jiraiya bluntly. "Jiraiya, it seems Hidden Leaf village has little interest in this negotiation. Not only did the 3rd Hokage not come, but even the other elders didn't show up. Could it be that they are too old to walk anymore?" Hearing this, Jiraiya stopped and replied, "My teacher is in excellent health, so there's no need for the Raikage to worry." As for why he didn't attend the talks, perhaps he didn't think the matter was all that important. Under normal circumstances, Jiraiya would never say something like this. However, before arriving, Shikaku had told him that he must maintain a tough stance to avoid arousing suspicion from the Raikage's side. They needed to sign a treaty favorable to Hidden Leaf Village before the news of Orochimaru's defection spread. The fourth Raikage stared at Jiraiya for a moment before responding coldly. Jiraiya, you seem quite confident. I hope you can maintain that confidence during the negotiations. Hanzo of the Salamander may have forcibly stopped our war, but that doesn't mean he's on your side. The next village to wage war against you might very well be Hidden Rain Village. This remark caused the atmosphere between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village to become tense. The fourth Raikage wasn't wrong. The war between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village had been forcibly halted, and although both sides were now considering a peace agreement, they had mobilized a large number of ninjas. It wasn't impossible for the conflict to reignite at any moment. Just then, the ninjas from Hidden Rain Village arrived outside the meeting room. Having overheard the Raikage's words, Byakuya spoke with a light tone. Raikage-sama, why are you stirring up trouble between Hidden Rain Village and Hidden Leaf Village in my absence? Has the always honorable Raikage turned sly and deceitful? That doesn't seem to align with Hidden Clouds Village's usual style. The fourth Raikage glanced at Byakuya, uninterested in arguing with this sharp-tongued individual. As for Byakuya's remark about Hidden Clouds Village's honorable ways, the Raikage took it as a veiled insult. After all, Hidden Clouds Village had a reputation for rogue behavior. They had once kidnapped Kushina Uzumaki during a time of peace and had even destroyed a small country in their pursuit of chakra techniques. Chapter 206, The Meeting. After a moment of contemplation, the fourth Raikage spoke to Byakuya. Byakuya, I'm just being honest. I definitely don't believe that Hidden Rain Village will firmly side with Hidden Leaf Village. Don't forget, Hidden Leaf Village invaded the Land of Rain over 20 years ago, while Hidden Clouds Village has no grudges or conflicts with Hidden Rain Village. Hearing this, Byakuya fell into deep thought, then nodded. The Raikage-sama makes a valid point. Hidden Leaf Village did indeed invade the Land of Rain. So, what should Hidden Rain Village do next? Faced with Byakuya's question, the fourth Raikage struggled to maintain his composure. He wasn't sure if Byakuya was playing dumb or deliberately trying to frustrate him, but his original intent of stirring up conflict between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Rain Village had clearly failed. Left with no choice, he stiffly ordered his subordinates, Killer B, Mibui, let's go inside first. After the fourth Raikage left, Byakuya approached Jiraiya with a light smile and said, Jiraiya, don't fall for the Raikage's scheme. The friendship between Hidden Rain Village and Hidden Leaf Village will last for many years, just as strong as the bond between the Uchiha and Senju clans. The bond between the Uchiha and Senju. Jiraiya's eyes widened. Byakuya's words were full of irony, and it seemed like he was actually provoking the relationship between the Uchiha and the Hokage faction. After all, whether the friendship between the Uchiha and Senju was truly strong was still an unknown. Before Jiraiya could respond, Byakuya cheerfully walked into the conference room, with Yahiko following closely behind, saying to Jiraiya, Jiraiya-sensei, Byakuya can be a bit childish sometimes, please be patient with him. Jiraiya sighed helplessly but could only nod and wave his hand, leading his subordinates into the conference room. With all the participating shinobi gathered, the meeting officially began. Jiraiya took the documents from Shikaku and showed the seal of the Fire Daimyo, speaking slowly. The Hidden Leaf Village side has received authorization from the Fire Daimyo. Has your village received similar authorization? The fourth Raikage nodded and then presented a document with the red seal of the Lightning Daimyo, saying, Hidden Clouds Village has received full authorization from the Lightning Daimyo to represent the entire Land of Lightning. Seeing this, Byakuya secretly chuckled, marveling at the strange system of one country and one village in the ninja world. The 5 great shinobi villages may be the military forces of the 5 great nations, but they do not fully represent them. For actions like declaring war or holding talks, they require authorization from the daimyos. At first glance, this system seems logical, but upon closer inspection, it feels rather bizarre. Why would ordinary daimyos cooperate with ninjas who wield extraordinary powers, and why would they nominally outrank the ninja villages? Is it because of their noble bloodlines, or is there another reason? Even in terms of bloodline, the clans with Kekkai Genkai far outclass the daimyos. Clans like the Uchiha and Hyuga have literally inherited the bloodlines of the gods. In contrast, smaller nations like the Land of Rain, which lack a daimyo, seem even more peculiar within this system. After the formalities were completed, Jiraiya turned to the fourth Raikage and said, Since last March, your village has occupied the Land of Hot Water and launched an attack on the Land of Fire. Hidden Leaf Village's demand is that Hidden Clouds Village compensate Hidden Leaf Village for the war and withdraw from the Land of Hot Water. Hearing this, Yahiko nodded and asked the fourth Raikage, Raikage-sama, is what Jiraiya-sama said true? There is no dispute about our attack on the Land of Fire. The fourth Raikage paused before continuing, however, The claim that we've occupied the land of hot water is a baseless accusation from Hidden Leaf Village. It's completely unfounded. First, Hidden Clouds Village did not engage in any conflict with Hidden Hot Water Village. Second, we entered the land of hot water under the support of a treaty, not through illegal invasion. After finishing, the fourth Raikage clapped his hands, signaling Mabui to present a document. This is a request from Hidden Hot Water Village for Hidden Clouds Village to station troops, sealed with the official red stamp of Hidden Hot Water Village. It does indeed document the agreement for troop deployment. Yahiko remained silent, instead taking the document and handing it to the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village. The leader of Hidden Hot Water Village took the document, glanced over it, and nodded, saying, "This is indeed our Hidden Hot Water Village's seal." Hearing this, the fourth Raikage smiled with satisfaction. Hidden Clouds Village dispatched troops to drive out Hidden Leaf Village shinobi from the land of hot water, and the subsequent conflict near the land of fire is merely a continuation of that action. Jiraiya's expression changed slightly as he looked at the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village, then at the fourth Raikage. At this moment, Shikaku couldn't help but interject, "Leader of Hidden Hot Water Village, may I ask if this agreement was signed between you and Hidden Clouds Village? I recall you also signed a similar agreement with us in Hidden Leaf Village. If you signed two agreements simultaneously, can Hidden Leaf Village assume that the land of hot water has betrayed the alliance?" The leader of Hidden Hot Water Village's expression shifted slightly, and he replied, "It is true that the agreement with Hidden Clouds Village exists, but that was signed by the previous leader. However, that leader betrayed the village, so that agreement is now void." Shikaku smiled and said, "Raikage-sama, did you hear that? This agreement was signed by the previous leader, and an agreement signed by a traitor cannot be valid." Upon hearing this, the fourth Raikage replied nonchalantly, "I see. However, Hidden Clouds Village was not informed of this, which makes it a unilateral breach of contract by Hidden Hot Water Village against Hidden Clouds Village. I still remember the penalty for breaching an agreement. It is to open several ports within the land of hot water. I hope Hidden Hot Water Village will deliver those ports promptly." Shikaku felt a surge of joy. The fourth Raikage seemed not to intend to continue the war. The requirement from the village for this meeting was to sign a peace agreement. Even sacrificing some interests of the land of fire wouldn't be out of the question, especially since Orochimaru's defection had such a significant impact on the village. Now, the fourth Raikage was only demanding a few trade ports, allowing Hidden Leaf Village to maintain its treaty with Hidden Hot Water Village, which was already very favorable for Hidden Leaf Village. However, since there was room for negotiation, they needed to strive for more benefits for the village. Thinking along these lines, Shikaku spoke up, "Raikage-sama, that agreement is already void. Moreover, Hidden Hot Water Village and Hidden Leaf Village have similar cooperation, so it is likely that we cannot grant those ports to you." While Shikaku and the fourth Raikage discussed the allocation of ports within the land of hot water, the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village remained indifferent. This scene was incredibly surreal and absurd. Under normal circumstances, the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village would feel utterly hopeless, but today he had other options. The leader of Hidden Hot Water Village turned to look at Yahiko, who coincidentally met his gaze. After exchanging looks, Yahiko spoke, "Shikaku, Raikage-sama, shouldn't we hear what Hidden Hot Water Village has to say?" Chapter 207, Pressing Issues. Shikaku, Raikage-sama, shouldn't we hear what Hidden Hot Water Village has to say? At these words, both Shikaku and the fourth Raikage were taken aback. When did the negotiations between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village require the input of Hidden Hot Water Village? Although the land of hot water behind Hidden Hot Water Village is not small in area, its overall strength is negligible. If it weren't for the need for a buffer zone between the land of fire and the land of lightning, Hidden Hot Water Village would have long been divided between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village. In fact, if this meeting hadn't been held in Hidden Hot Water Village, the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village wouldn't even have qualified to attend. However, due to the strength of Hidden Rain Village, both Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village paused their discussions, turning to the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village seated at the head of the table, waiting for him to speak. They were also curious to see which side the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village favored. Under the watchful eyes of the fourth Raikage and Jiraiya, the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village glanced around anxiously, knowing that what he was about to say would surely offend both Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village, drawing hostility from both sides. But if he did not take a stand, Hidden Hot Water Village would forever remain in the shadow of the great nations. Taking a deep breath, the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village began, "Shikaku-sama, Raikage-sama, Hidden Hot Water Village has indeed signed an alliance treaty with both Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Leaf Village, but it is you who first violated the treaty. Hidden Hot Water Village does not require compensation from either Hidden Leaf Village or Hidden Clouds Village, but we ask that you withdraw your troops from the land of hot water." The leader's words brought expressions of surprise to the faces of both the fourth Raikage and Shikaku, followed by frowns. The other shinobi present were also taken aback. How dare Hidden Hot Water Village do this? Had he not considered the consequences of offending both Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village? Even if Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village did not send forces to attack the Land of Hot Water, they could easily subdue Hidden Hot Water Village with just a few Anbu teams, launching a military operation at any time. After a moment of thought, the shinobi present gradually realized this and turned to Yahiko, who was not far away. Given the courage of the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village, he would never dare to break away from the control of Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village, but if he had the backing of Hidden Rain Village, that would be a different story. While the overall strength of Hidden Rain Village may not be comparable to the 5 great shinobi villages, its top-tier combat power could certainly rival them, especially in this conflict between Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Leaf Village, which could easily influence the outcome. Thinking of this, the fourth Raikage's expression darkened as he said, "Leader of Hidden Hot Water Village, are you sure you do not need Hidden Clouds Village's protection? Do you really think you have the ability to protect the Land of Hot Water?" Under the pressure from the fourth Raikage, the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village forced himself to respond, "The war between your villages has already brought devastation to the Land of Hot Water. So, we do not want to sacrifice for other shinobi villages any longer." The leader's statement undoubtedly stripped Hidden Clouds Village of its last shred of dignity. If it weren't for the concern of losing respect, the fourth Raikage might have acted immediately in the conference room, but for now, he could only exert pressure through his gaze and demeanor. At this moment, Byakuya looked at the fourth Raikage and said with a mocking expression, "Raikage-sama, it is not appropriate to openly threaten the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village in front of everyone since he has the right to make his own choices." The fourth Raikage retorted bluntly, "This is likely because your Hidden Rain Village promised them something, isn't it?" Byakuya nodded slightly and replied, "Raikage-sama is indeed quite astute. Then I will be straightforward, we are not interested in the war between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village, but the conflict cannot continue on the territory of the Land of Hot Water." The fourth Raikage sneered, "That sounds nice, but why did you join Hidden Leaf Village previously and kill the two-tailed Jinchuriki from my village? Hidden Clouds Village will not forget that debt." "That was because Hidden Clouds Village was the aggressor, and Jiraiya paid a high price." Seeing Byakuya and the fourth Raikage getting into a heated argument, Yahiko quickly stepped in, saying, "Raikage-sama, please forgive Byakuya's offense. We genuinely want Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village to coexist peacefully." During the days leading up to this meeting, our Akatsuki organization carefully studied the reasons behind the past wars between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village. It always boils down to the struggle for control over the Land of Hot Water, fearing that the control of the Land of Hot Water would threaten both the Land of Fire and the Land of Lightning. If Hidden Hot Water Village can free itself from the influence of Hidden Clouds Village and Hidden Leaf Village and maintain neutrality, the war between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village will not erupt. Upon hearing Yahiko's words, the fourth Raikage's expression softened considerably. Yahiko's expression was quite similar to Byakuya's, clearly indicating a coordinated front in front of the Raikage. However, if Hidden Rain Village insisted on intervening, Hidden Clouds Village would really lack the strength to reignite the war. Jiraiya, on the other hand, fell into deep thought as he carefully considered Yahiko's words. Yahiko was correct, most of the conflicts between Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Clouds Village stemmed from the issues in the Land of Hot Water. If the Land of Hot Water could maintain neutrality, it would be beneficial for both sides. Yahiko's realization of this point demonstrated his growth over the years, perhaps even surpassing his teacher. However, the third Hokage and the advisors would not easily accept this outcome, as they had long been unwilling to relinquish control over the Land of Hot Water. Controlling the Land of Hot Water would allow Hidden Leaf Village to effectively curb Hidden Clouds Village's expansion. But Hidden Leaf Village's attempts to control the Land of Hot Water were no different from Hidden Clouds Village's invasion. One was an overt invasion, while the other was merely a covert one. With this thought in mind, Jiraiya felt uncertain about how to continue the negotiations. After a soft sigh, he turned to Yahiko and the fourth Raikage, saying, "If Hidden Clouds Village is willing to withdraw its troops from the Land of Hot Water, then Hidden Leaf Village will also be willing to pull out." Upon hearing Jiraiya's concession, the ninjas present shifted their gazes towards the fourth Raikage. Under the scrutiny of so many eyes, even a powerful figure like the fourth Raikage felt immense pressure. Internally, he was reluctant to give up the benefits in the Land of Hot Water, nor did he want to withdraw his troops. After all, the Land of Hot Water was virtually the only direction for Hidden Clouds Village's expansion. Other directions were either across vast oceans or permafrost-covered wastelands, which could not sustain Hidden Clouds Village's growth. Currently, Hidden Clouds Village's system relied heavily on external expansion, Failing to engage in war would easily lead to internal strife, as evidenced by the previous rebellion of Qin and Jin. Those two had attacked the meeting venue due to dissatisfaction with Hidden Cloud's village's treaty with Hidden Leaf Village, resulting in the death of the second Raikage and subsequently the second Hokage of Hidden Leaf Village. After a prolonged silence, the fourth Raikage glanced at his companion, Killer B, then surveyed the ninjas from Hidden Leaf Village, Hidden Hot Water Village, and Hidden Rain Village, and slowly said, if Hidden Leaf Village truly intends to withdraw its troops, then Hidden Cloud's village can also withdraw from the Land of Hot Water. However, to ensure the security of Hidden Cloud's village at the borders, neither Hidden Leaf Village nor Hidden Rain Village will be allowed to station troops within the Land of Hot Water. Chapter 208, Expansion of the Akatsuki Organization. With the efforts of Byakuya, Yahiko, and Jiraiya, both Hidden Cloud's village and Hidden Leaf Village agreed to withdraw their troops from the Land of Hot Water. As long as Hidden Hot Water Village remains neutral and does not ally with other ninja villages, both Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Cloud's village will not take the initiative to attack the Land of Hot Water. Upon learning this outcome, the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village was very excited. After the talks had just concluded, the leader found Yahiko at the inn where the Rain Ninja were staying, shaking Yahiko's hand and saying, Lord Yahiko, I truly thank you for your efforts. If it weren't for you, even if Hidden Cloud's village and Hidden Leaf Village stopped the war, they would still have acted against the Land of Hot Water. Yahiko also appeared very excited, having realized his childhood dream of mediating a war between great nations. After regaining his focus, Yahiko said to the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village, this is what we should do. Both Hidden Rain Village and Hidden Hot Water Village are small ninja countries. If we cannot unite, we will only be harassed by the 5 great ninja villages. The leader of Hidden Hot Water Village nodded, fully aware of the difficulties faced by small nations. However, there is no free lunch in the world. The reason Hidden Rain Village was willing to help Hidden Hot Water Village was not only because they were both small countries but also for the resources and market within the Land of Hot Water. This point had already been discussed during their last meeting. Compared to Hidden Leaf Village, which often demands garrison rights, and in name only acts as allies while treating the Land of Hot Water as a vassal state, Hidden Rain Village has merely rented a few ports. As for the ambitions of Hidden Cloud's village, they were even more outrageous, seeking to directly annex the Land of Hot Water. Just as the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village and Yahiko were engaging in mutual flattery, Byakuya walked over and smiled, saying, Hey Yahiko, did you forget to mention a condition to the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village? Byakuya-senpai, what else is there? The leader of Hidden Hot Water Village was taken aback. He respected Byakuya for his strength but wondered why Byakuya suddenly had an additional condition. Could it be that he picked the wrong side this time, and the ambitions of Hidden Rain Village were actually greater than those of Hidden Leaf Village and Hidden Cloud's village? Byakuya approached the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village and smiled, saying, Don't worry, it's nothing serious, I just want to invite you and Hidden Hot Water Village to join our Akatsuki organization. Akatsuki? The leader of Hidden Hot Water Village looked even more confused. He had heard of the Akatsuki's name and knew that both Yahiko and Byakuya were once members, but wasn't the Akatsuki a subordinate organization of Hidden Rain Village? Seeing the leader's confusion, Byakuya chuckled and said, Lord leader of Hidden Hot Water Village, you are not thinking that the Akatsuki is a subordinate organization of Hidden Rain Village, are you? In fact, Hidden Rain Village is a subordinate organization of the Akatsuki. The goals of the Akatsuki are not limited to one country or one village. We are here to achieve peace in the ninja world. When Hanzo the Salamander tried to stop us, we defeated him, and the war between Hidden Cloud's village and Hidden Leaf Village has also ceased because of our intervention. If you are willing to lead Hidden Hot Water Village to join the Akatsuki, I can consider protecting you. After saying this, Byakuya formed hand seals, and a small sapling burst forth from the ground, rapidly growing to fill the entire room. Wood style. The legendary wood style. Seeing this scene, the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village was wide-eyed, suspecting that he was under a Ganjutsu. While wood style was merely a Kekkei Genkei, the last user of wood style was the first Hokage, who had pacified the warring states, and from then on, wood style carried a special significance. Yahiko was also somewhat surprised. Although he had long suspected that Byakuya had mastered wood style, this was the first time he had seen Byakuya use it. In the previous battle with Hanzo, Byakuya would have never been able to defeat the demigod of the ninja world and force Hanzo to surrender without mastering such a secret technique. However, he couldn't quite understand why Byakuya wanted the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village to join the Akatsuki. After a moment, the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village finally recovered from his shock. He looked at Byakuya with a newfound respect, and his tone became even more respectful. Lord Byakuya, was that wood style you just used? Byakuya smiled casually and said, You have good insight, you recognize that I used wood style, so you should understand its power. Of course, of course. After a brief pause, the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village curiously asked, "However, Lord Byakuya, since you have mastered wood style, why are you still in the Land of Rain?" "What I mean is, the territory of the Land of Rain is not worthy of you. The resources of the Land of Rain are not worthy of Byakuya." This was not flattery from the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village but his genuine thoughts. Byakuya could contend with the 4th Raikage in a short time even without using wood style, which undoubtedly proves that he possesses power on par with the 5 Kage. Coupled with his wood style that is extremely effective against tailed beasts, even without the power of the Sage of the Six Paths, Byakuya could be referred to as a demigod. Byakuya stared at the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village and retorted, "I'm a ninja who loves peace and dislikes killing. If I were to join other ninja villages, what would happen to your Hidden Hot Water Village?" Upon hearing this, the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village fell silent. He did not believe Byakuya's claim of loving peace. According to records from the black market, during the recent war between Hidden Lee Village and Hidden Clouds Village, Byakuya had eliminated dozens of ninjas. Even the information regarding the Jinchuriki of the Two Tails was vaguely connected to him. Compared to Byakuya, even the crazies from Hidden Mist Village and Hidden Sand Village seemed quite amiable. Byakuya continued, all right, you can now make a decision on whether or not to join the Akatsuki." The leader of Hidden Hot Water Village no longer hesitated and nodded, saying, "I am willing to bring Hidden Hot Water Village into the Akatsuki. However, are there any specific rules or regulations within the organization?" Byakuya fell into thought for a moment and then said, "Aside from prohibiting mutual killings, there are no special regulations. For specific questions, you can ask Lord Yahiko. I'm not good at managing ninja villages." Seeing Byakuya pass the responsibility to him, Yahiko could only accept it with a forced smile. Since Byakuya became the leader of the Akatsuki, he had dedicated all his attention to the organization, leaving all matters concerning Hidden Rain Village to Yahiko. Along with Nagato, who loved civil engineering, and Conan, who enjoyed making money, it seemed that without Byakuya's input, Hidden Rain Village and the Akatsuki would likely face major trouble soon. After a light sigh, Yahiko turned to the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village and said, "Let's continue our previous discussion. There are still many areas where Hidden Rain Village and Hidden Hot Water Village can collaborate." Having intimidated the leader of Hidden Hot Water Village and facilitated his joining the Akatsuki, Byakuya didn't linger and simply found a quiet room to wait. Before long, a familiar electronic notification sound echoed in Byakuya's mind. Hidden Hot Water Village has joined the Akatsuki. You have gained Basic Water Style, Basic Fire Style, Basic Earth Style. Hidden Hot Water Village has joined the Akatsuki. You have acquired the Forbidden Jutsus of the Evil God Cult, Chapter 209, Forbidden Jutsus of the Evil God and Hidan. Hidden Hot Water Village has joined the Akatsuki. You have gained Basic Water Style, Basic Fire Style, Basic Earth Style. Hidden Hot Water Village has joined the Akatsuki. You have acquired the Forbidden Jutsus of the Evil God Cult. After hearing the system notification in his ears, Byakuya frowned. Hidden Hot Water Village was just a minor ninja village, so it was normal for the rewards to be less impressive than those from Hidden Rain Village. After all, if Hidden Hot Water Village had any real secret techniques, they would have long been snatched by the 5 great ninja villages.